It was on the. It was up and on. So yeah, it was on the air.
All right, it was a cool thing to go on the air.
I suppose.
Good morning.
And away we go, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages. Welcome in. It's time to get this show on the air.
It could be on the road. I mean, because someone's driving and listening, so the show's on the
speaking,
road. Yeah,
which is my favorite kind of speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, great to have you. Welcome in the Thursday edition of the Rob Brown radio program. Starts right now. Wonderful to have you. The happiest of Thursdays to you, my friends, my family, my colleagues, my coworkers, and my loose acquaintances. It is spectacular to have you here on the show. My name is Rob Brown. The other voice you hear, that sultry, seductive son of a you-know-what, that's the great one, Lonzo, in charge of the radio not just this radio broadcast, every broadcast that you ever heard, and you went, hey, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Lonzo was in charge of that one too.
Yeah, you shouted out everybody but the enemy, so I would say good morning, Clemson.
What's up, haters? Haters.
The haters. They like to drink their haterade and eat their hater tots.
What a day we have lined up for us today. We have got a bunch of stuff from Nick Saban to get into on the broadcast today. Yesterday, he did a couple of different sit-down interviews, including one with Reese Davis. And he gave us all the reasons that he decided to walk away. And there were a couple of them that I heard his reasoning, and I went, yeah, okay. All right, I get it. That checks out. My dog's on the far side of 70. I can understand, the stress getting to you a little bit. And then he had more things to say. Then he had other words that he wanted to say out loud. And then he lost me entirely. Went from, this checks out. Went from this makes sense to Nicholas. Nicholas, I feel like, Nicholas, you're making this about you. And isn't one of the beautiful things about college football supposed to be that as a coach, it's about more than you? It's bigger than you.
No, it's not, because it's NFL light. I mean, maybe back in the day, now it's a business.
But is it though?
Absolutely.
If you have lost the belief that as a coach, you have a certain level of responsibility owed to the young men in your charge, and I mean this bottom to top, regardless of how they came into your charge or why they came into your charge, if you get to a point that you feel like you do not have a responsibility to the guys that go to war for you on Thursday night or Friday night or Saturday or Sunday or Monday night or whatever night of the week the spring teams, the spring leagues are going to be playing, then I would say, yeah, time for you to step away. You have lost it. You have lost it. Now, we're going to talk about this later because, again, the quotes from Saban to me are very interesting. And more importantly, I know they're going to cause fights. And that's kind of our job. So we're going to get to the Nick Saban comments later on in the show. We are going to, you're welcome, or I'm sorry, whichever is more apropos. We are going to talk a little bit of National Basketball Association later, because I don't mean to alarm anyone at 6:05 in the morning portion of the day, but Alonzo's very excited about this. The Warriors might be good again. Steph has once again raised his chalice filled with the liquid from the fountain of youth.
dipped his binky in it, and then went out on the court.
Took out Giannis and Dame, ended the Milwaukee Bucks 6-game win streak last night, and did so in dominating fashion.
To quote some movie that I cannot remember, whoopity-doo.
I mean, yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. You may not love it, but that's a big deal.
Did it put him above 500? I mean, I can check the record. I think last time they were not.
This is
saying.
This is why this moment is big. In years gone by, this would not necessarily be a big deal. And yes, by the way, they are 5 games over 500 at this point.
Wow. Good
They
for you,
are
Binky boy.
a half game back of the Mavericks for the 8 seed. They are 2 games back of the Kings to get out of play-in tournament position. And if they keep doing what they did last night, they're going to get there. So we're going to talk about that coming up later on in the radio broadcast. I'm real intrigued because from spot number 5 in the Western Conference, from spot number 5 down to spot number 10, all of those teams are separated by a total of 4 basketball contests. So I want to get into that later on in the show because the NBA right now is very, very good. I want to talk, we got into it very briefly yesterday. We got into the conversation about the new expanded college football playoff plan that was floated, a plan that would give the Big Ten and the SEC exclusive rights to the first round buys in the 14-team college football playoff. That means no matter the scenario or the situation, the champion of the SEC and the champion of the Big Ten would get a bye every single year. And that caused just the slightest bit of contention between myself and the great one yesterday. I want to talk a little bit more about that today, but I don't want to, and this is something that will shock some of you, I don't want to talk about it just from the perspective of us. I mean, I do because it's, our perspective.
I thought you were going to say you don't want to fight no more. And I just
I don't care anymore. I mean, we're going to.
We both quoted 2 totally different songs, but that's fine.
No. All right. I do want to talk more about it because I want to talk about it from the perspective of the people that it is going to impact the most. That, of course, are the coaches, athletic directors, chancellors, administrators of the schools who just got told, you, friends, are second-class citizens in the landscape of collegiate football. So I want to get to that later on in the radio show. Cade Klubnik did himself a little sit-down interview, and Cade Klubnik said that he believes that Clemson is going to definitively be better this year. And while he was asked to specify why he feels that way, Cade Klubnik gave not 1, not 2, but 3 reasons that he believes his Los Tigres are going to be a better football team this year. So I'm going to tell you what Cade Klubnik's reasons are for believing that Clemson will make its return to prominence. And while we are having that discussion, the first round of Vegas odds for teams to make the 2024 college football playoff field of 12 have been dropped in Vegas. So where does Clemson sit within those odds? We will talk about that coming up later on in the radio broadcast. Somebody asked me yesterday, and I think it was a fair question, and I realized we haven't really gotten into this. But I made a big deal yesterday. Not that Russell Wilson was getting cut from the Denver Broncos, not that Russell Wilson was given permission by said Denver Broncos yesterday to begin speaking to other teams across the National Football League and try to find himself a new place to play quarterback in 2024. Maybe it is. It's not, but maybe it is. But I was blown away predominantly by the $85 million worth of dead cap money that the Denver Broncos will be eating with the departure of one Russell Wilson. $85 million in dead cap money.
You got to really dislike someone to do that.
Genuinely, I would say borderline hate, man. Like borderline hate a guy to go that deep into the dead cap just to get him off of the team. That is a lot of money. And then yesterday, I got to the house and the lady friend working from home, her car's in the shop, and we were having a discussion. And she said, I was listening to your show this morning. And I said, oh, you must have been very bored. And she said, what's dead cap money? What does that mean? And I said, that's a lovely question. That's a fantastic question. And it wasn't the only time I got asked that question yesterday. Another person asked me that question yesterday evening. And so later on in the show, I'm going to actually explain what dead cap money is, because I think it's something that we all hear. And obviously, dead cap money has ominous overtones to it. And it does have a real financial impact on National Football League teams. So later on in the show, I will explain to you what dead cap money is. I will explain to you how it impacts teams. I will explain it to you using the illustration of the Denver Broncos, again, paying $85 million with an M dollars in dead cap money, with Russell Wilson not on the football roster anymore. We're going to talk about that. Coming up at 8:20 this morning, back in his normal spot, we will be joined by Rashad Beard. Rashad, of course, one half of the host of the Panther Nation podcast. He joins us every Thursday on the show and talks Carolina Panther football with us. We're going to ask him a couple of questions today, like, for instance, Rashad, if you could have any free agent out there in the free agency pool right now, who would it be? Hey, Rashad, do you think that the reason the Panthers decided not to keep Hayden Hurst is more on Hayden Hurst, more on the Panthers, more on Frank Reich, more on Bryce Young? What happened there? Because a lot of us, and I say us because I'm in that number, a lot of us thought Hayden Hurst was going to be a game-changing free agent pickup for the Panthers, and we barely heard his name called last year. Barely heard his name called last year. So we'll ask Rashad Beard what he thinks went wrong with that move. We will ask him about his thoughts on the tagging of Brian Burns and the Panthers cutting off negotiations before the combine began last week. What he thinks that means for the future. Is this a definite tag and trade situation? Do you think anybody else is going to jump up and snag Brian Burns, who is on a non-exclusive franchise tag, meaning he can have communications with other teams? We'll ask Rashad Beard those questions and more coming up at 8:20 this morning. Then it's Thursday, and you know what that means. At 9:20 this morning, it's time for Fight Club with the great one, Lonzo, your home for combat sports discussion around the upstate of South Carolina. And we're at no shortage of, so we may have to go extended Fight Club today, because we had the farewell to Sting last weekend in the AEW. We had NXT Roadblock. We are very squarely on the road to WrestleMania. 3 weeks away is the greatest show on earth. We had Dynamite last night, which I have not yet watched, but I've heard it was a real good one. We had a wild couple of last Raws and SmackDowns.
Not to mention what happens tomorrow night and Saturday night.
Correct.
Now, I'm talking about boxing and MMA.
We got boxing and MMA.
Francis Ngannou.
Francis Ngannou got up in Tyson Fury's business last night.
Yeah, but he fights tomorrow night.
He does. He does.
Against Anthony Joshua. And
which, by the way,
which you can watch like at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Can I point out to you, Zoe, we've always had this discussion that Francis Ngannou is doing the thing that I want every former fighter turned boxer to do, which is box boxers. If you're going to be a boxer, box boxers. Box a boxer. And Francis Ngannou went straight to the top with Anthony Joshua.
I would say save it.
Oh, we're going to. I'm not going to get into it here.
There's also a big MMA rematch this weekend.
Sugar.
Yep.
Sugar's back. The funny-haired kid from Montana is back.
Funny hair. His hair is beautiful.
So, yes, we are going to talk.
Except when he does the cornrows. That's got to hurt. It really does.
Mario says it does.
Yeah, he looked like he was in serious pain.
Yeah.
No wonder you want to hit someone in the face if you do that to yourself.
So, Fight Club coming up at 9:20. In fact, it may start a little closer to 9:15 so that we give ourselves plenty of time because we got no shortage of topics to cover in that segment. So, there's everything we're getting to. There's all the stuff we're going to talk about over the course of the radio broadcast today. Here is what I request ever so humbly and lovingly of you, my dear listeners and viewers on the stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, on YouTube by searching and subscribing to the Fan Upstate or the Rob Brown Show, and on Twitch by going to the Rob Brown Show on Twitch. Be a part of the show today. Okay? You can go to any of those streaming destinations. We have a chat that is available from any of those sources that pops up on our computer. We love to interact with you guys both on and off the air on the stream chat. Our text line is open at 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the radio broadcast. And, of course, the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone is open for you this morning at 844-326-3663, 844-FAN-FONE. That's how you get in touch with the show. Let us run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we told you yesterday that the Dartmouth basketball team becomes the first NCAA governed team to vote to approve unionization. Now, there's a lot of steps still to go. This is going to be a months-long process for them to become a union, but the process has begun. What does that mean for the NCAA? What does that mean for the other teams within the NCAA? We're going to answer, at least try our best to answer those questions when we come back. My name is Rob Brown, the great Lonzo, and the ones and twos. The Rob Brown Show is in your eyeballs and ear holes, kids. It is the Fan Upstate.
Short break.
Perfect.
Here's the Carolinas most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Some fog early on today, then staying mostly sunny with our high nearing 72. Staying cloudy overnight tonight with a low around 53. Some rain showers possible Friday, cloudy and 64, and more rain may continue into Friday night with a low around 52. Then more showers likely on Saturday. I'm meteorologist Kara Foster on the Fan Upstate. Currently it's 50 degrees.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Gabby.
Hey, Gabby. It's Jennifer Coolidge. Hi. I'm so glad I reached you at 2 a.m.
Oh, of course. Anyone with a Discover card can call and talk to a real person.
All right, good morning, streamers from around the world. Welcome in. Good to have you. Glad you're here.
24/7 U.S.-based customer service. It pays to Discover. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a new Samsung Galaxy A15 for just $99. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah. Good talk.
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25.
The other day, great one. I did a thing where I talked about, thank you, James. Good to see you, buddy. Good morning. Where I described South Carolina and their coaching staff /AD having their ships in a row. Top of your head, do you remember when that was? Was that Monday's show?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
Sorry.
No worries.
Take control of your listening experience with Rewind on the Odyssey app. Missed a jaw-dropping moment? No worries.
The Odyssey app makes it easy.
With Rewind, you can relive big moments from Mark Ryan, Rob Brown.
It is pretty early. No doubt about that. Or late if you're on your way home.
Earlier this week, the Dartmouth basketball team took a vote to decide if they wanted to unionize or not. You will remember that a few weeks ago, it was reported that a federal court, scratch that, a federal agency, I should say, decided that, yes, collegiate athletes do indeed qualify for employee status in a way that would allow them to unionize. And now we have the first team that has said that they would like to do that. It's the Dartmouth basketball team. They took a vote. They voted 13-2 to unionize and then authorized the Service Employees International Union to bargain on their behalf. Now, the SEIU is I'm going to say powerful. I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't know a whole lot about them.
Yeah, because if you'd have said Teamsters, I'd have been like, okay, all right.
They're basically that.
I mean, everyone knows the Teamsters.
They're basically that, but for predominantly the service industry, waiters, servers, bartenders, bellhops.
Okay,
valets,
I've
whatever.
been in the equivalent of that when I was in grocery in Ohio, and it was, I forget the name of the union, but I was in that, and then I was in Teamsters because I had to be, and I was more afraid of Teamsters. So I just think that if they would have went with Teamsters, chances are this thing gets done.
Well, this organization, the SEIU, from what I have read, again, I am not big into this world, so I don't know, is a powerful and politically connected organization that represents nearly 2 million employees nationally.
See, my problem with this is it's Dartmouth. I mean, if it was like Duke, that would be something totally different.
Well, there's a reason that it is Dartmouth. There's a reason it's Dartmouth, and there's a reason that this team was the first to do it. The biggest reason, and the reason that while this is going to have a major impact on NCAA sports, it is down the line. And the reason why is Dartmouth is an Ivy League school. Ivy League schools are exclusively private schools. So there are a lot of state laws that do not apply to Dartmouth like they do at other places. There are going to be some other schools publicly down the line that will get there. But Dartmouth being a private school, it afforded them some advantages to give them a head start. The team is expected to present a list of demands to the school, potentially including a student wage, more medical coverage, and better treatment and a variety of team-related issues. There is a write-up on this by Ross Dellinger, who is, golly, Ross Dellinger's on an absolute heater lately. But why wouldn't he be? The landscape of college football and basketball is changing dramatically day by day, and Dellinger does a great job covering the business side of this. Dellinger said, quote, such demands could spark players on other college teams to follow suit with similar efforts, charting the path for all college athletes to unionize as employees, legal experts say. Gabe Feldman is a sports law professor at Tulane, and he said, quote, it's ironic that you have billions of dollars flowing through college football, and it might be Dartmouth basketball that upends the system. If the National Labor Relations Board determines Dartmouth basketball players are employees, then there is a very strong argument that all private school D1 athletes are employees, including walk-ons. The question then would be, does the NLRB determine that all of athletics, all athletes, public schools as well, are employees? Can I give you, before I get too much deeper down this path, let me give you the knee-jerk reaction that I had. And I acknowledge that this is the knee-jerk reaction of a dumb person. Okay, as somebody who I'm not super keen on labor laws. I'm not super up to date on the legal side of a lot of this. I am learning day by day, as we all are. But here's the thought that I had. I am willing to bet that Dartmouth is not a money-making endeavor on the basketball court. There are a few schools, very few schools, nationally that profit from basketball. I don't know for a fact, but I'm willing to bet that Dartmouth Shooty Hoops is not one of those teams. And I wonder if down the line, and we're going to hear something about this from Nick Saban later on in the show, I wonder if down the line, there's not a point somewhere, great one, if the National Labor Relations Board does decide that athletes are to be viewed as employees and that they have the right to unionize as employees across public schools, because again, part of this vote to unionize is a catalyst for the NLRB to finalize. They still got to go through a hearing. Remember, there was a immediate ruling from the NLRB that said that athletes are employees as well as student athletes. And this has got to go through a whole secondary process. There will likely be appeals. There will probably be appeals to those appeals. There's going to be a lot to it. But if that ruling comes through, I wonder if we don't end up in a spot where, and we've talked about this on the show, it is my, and I mean this, number one concern when it comes to the breakdown of this. Not enough that I say, oh, we don't do it, or, oh, get rid of all of it. But my number one concern is, if you're Dartmouth, this is a non-money-making endeavor. And these students are ruled employees. They unionize. They start to make demands. And they say, if you do not meet our demands, we go on strike. We won't play basketball for you, Dartmouth. I wonder if there comes a point where Dartmouth goes, okay, and just shuts down basketball. And I'm not just talking about Dartmouth. I'm talking about all of the smaller schools that are going to be in similar positions. What's the point where a smaller school sees their players labeled as employees? They earn employees' rights, labor rights. They start making demands for compensation. Where's the spot where some of these schools begin to say, yeah, we're just not going to host that sport anymore? If our basketball players are going to come to us and they're going to demand X $1,000 a month, and they're only going to travel on private plane. I'm not saying that these are the demands. We don't know what they are yet. But they're going to make this list of demands Where's the spot if you are Dartmouth basketball that you go, yeah, no, we're just not going to do it anymore? Somebody made this analogy the other day, and I thought it was a good one because Rob Brown loves him an analogy. Somebody made the analogy the other day of this. This is Dartmouth basketball players unionizing and saying, meet our demands or we're out. This isn't going to be true of spots like North Carolina and Duke and Kansas and Indiana. It's true for a school like a Dartmouth. Zoe, you ever have one of your buddies date out of their league? Like they catch a 10 or they catch the daughter of the president of the bank who's got all the money or whatever? This happened to me a few times.
See, this is one of those times where I disagree with your take on that. I don't think you can date out of your league.
You absolutely can date out of your league.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
I've done it.
It's impossible.
It's not.
So that means you don't have the self-love that you should have. If you have the kind of self-love,
Chris
that means
Hardwick dated Carmen Electra. He was out of his league, and I
Was he?
congratulate him for it.
No,
I don't actually know if they dated. It's just those were the first two that came to my
I
head.
was gonna say, fame cancels everything out, though.
Okay, so
Yeah. So if it's a regular guy dating someone who you believe is out of their league, I disagree with.
okay, if I came home, and let me use a hypothetical to describe my hypothetical that involves two people that are taking it off the market so that I don't get in trouble. If I came to you, Zoe, and I said, I am in a committed relationship with Scarlett Johansson, dog, I'm out of my league. That doesn't mean it's bad.
No,
In fact,
you
if
know what I
anything,
would say?
pat on the back.
I would say good for Scarlett. She got a great catch, and if if you guys are equally coupled, it's an awesome thing.
We're not. We are not equally
Right,
coupled.
because you don't love
We're not.
you don't love yourself enough to believe that you should belong with someone
Okay.
like that.
So-
Love yourself, Rob.
For the rest of us out here in regular person world, where we all acknowledge that Scarlett Johansson is out of Rob Brown's league, you will get the analogy.
Have you seen Colin Jost?
You mean the very rich, very attractive man who's on national television every single
So
week?
you consider
That's
Colin
the guy?
Jost attractive?
Yeah, he's a very handsome fella.
Do you?
Yes.
Why don't you think about yourself that way?
Because I don't look like Colin Jost.
Come on, you look
I've
like
got good hair.
you look like Will Wheaton, so you at least have that.
Yes, and Will Wheaton has never been listed on the list of heartthrobs of America, has he?
I'm just saying, love yourself, man. Don't believe anyone is out of your league. I
All
don't
right.
believe anyone's out of anyone's league
All
because it's a matters of the heart, not matters of other things.
The czar of idealism, Lonzo, strikes again. Okay? Now, for the rest of us who acknowledge that, yes,
I'm offended by out of your league. I really am.
That's
Every time I hear that, you kicked above your coverage. No, you didn't. No, you did not. There's no such thing. Okay? It's just dumb.
that is a rabbit trail we will come back to later because you couldn't be more wrong.
No, we won't.
But we'll come back to that. But we might come back to it. But now we will, because that needs I need to fix you on that. I do. So
Fix me.
for the for those of us out here in the real world that recognize that Rob Brown is not in Scarlett Johansson's league, here's the analogy. It's like if your buddy was dating the 10, but not just is she a 10, but she's a rich 10. She owns a lake house and a house in the mountains and a Ferrari and a spare Ferrari that she lets your buddy drive. She just loves this guy. And she's like, hey, what's mine is yours and what's yours would be mine, but you don't have anything. So what's mine is yours. And that's just this relationship. And your bud every day, he's taken care of, right? He wants for nothing. He says, I really wish I had that new Rolex. Homegirl buys it for him. She lets him drive the Ferrari. He gets to take her private plane up to Aspen on the weekends. And then one day, he wakes up and he's feeling froggy. And he says, hey, babe, if you don't start giving me some of that sweet, sweet loving 2 times a day, every day, I will leave you. On what grounds is he standing? On what grounds does he provide anything to the relationship other than, much like me, his wit and charm and dashing good looks. What does he bring to the table that is at all a threat? If anything, it's going to be easier for her if you're not there. In this case, Dartmouth is the 10 and the players are the dude who kicked above their weight class. Yeah. In this case, Dartmouth basketball players are provided with an opportunity to enhance and further their education while playing basketball at a private Ivy League school. But the Ivy League school doesn't benefit from that, right? They are not rolling in dough over basketball. Now, again, this analogy is going to fall apart when we start talking about Duke and Carolina, because Duke and Carolina, as the fellas in this relationship, they bring something to the table. The Dartmouth players don't. So if you're Dartmouth, isn't there a little party? And again, I don't know what the labor laws are, where if the Dartmouth players say we're going on strike and Dartmouth says, you know what? Go ahead and consider that strike permanent. We're done. We're killing the basketball team. No more Dartmouth basketball. I don't know if there is any recourse for the Dartmouth player. Whoever that was, sexy voice. That guy sounds like he could win over Scarlett Johansson. I don't know what labor laws are in place where if Dartmouth said no more basketball, no more shooty hoops, they could go in front of a judge somewhere and say, hey, we need you to make Dartmouth keep their basketball team. Again, I'm a dummy, not a lawyer. I can't come up with a scenario where that's in play. And this is what my concern has been from the beginning. It's for the small schools. Now, as we pointed out, in years gone by, the resources have always been dedicated to the big schools. My alma mater, the University of West Florida, has a student population of like 7,000 total. Yet they, in the last 5 years, started a football program. A football program, by the way, that has played for and won a national championship. So the resources have always been enough for the small schools to operate. The problem is, with all of this going on, the larger schools will now be in a spot where they can likely demand more resources. So I'm intrigued to see what happens here.
I'm trying to find this, and I can't find it. Do any Dartmouth players actually have NIL deals?
No idea. That's a great question. No idea.
And
I'd be intrigued.
And if they don't, is this the reason why they want to unionize so they can get paid too?
I suspect they want to unionize because they want, as I think all of us do, more say over the work environment in which they participate. I think everybody wants that.
Maybe they want that vaunted Dartmouth football money.
Maybe so. So here's what we know is the timeline. Dartmouth is appealing the decision to the NLRB National Board in Washington, D.C. In the Northwestern case, you remember that case. If you don't, go read about it. I don't have time to explain it now. The National Board declined to recognize unionization in part because the NLRB only applies to private employers. Dartmouth is a private college. The question mark is going to be, will the NLRB say, okay, you are a private school, and we do now consider college athletes to be employees of the school. So because they are employees of the school and you are a private school, by definition, they are employees of a private entity. And so they are able to be unionized. So this is something that I do think has an impact on all of NCAA. But on the flip side, it's a ways off from having an impact on your school, because for the overwhelming majority of you, your school is a public institution, which would make it, even if the NLRB decides that Dartmouth is indeed a private entity, and therefore they are private employees, and therefore they are allowed to unionize, your school is still public. Your school does not have, as of right now, and this has already been ruled on once by the NLRB, your school's athletes do not have the ability to go make that same argument like the Dartmouth players do. So, to answer the question that we asked to end the last segment, what impact does this have on the NCAA? Right now, not much of one, to be honest. Right this second, not much of one. Because an Ivy League school, while it does fall under the jurisdiction of the NCAA, kind of has a different set of circumstances than Clemson does, than South Carolina does, than Furman does. Different set of circumstances. And because it's a different set of circumstances, whatever the ruling happens in Dartmouth, it's a ways off from having a direct impact on this. But the more times that the NLRB and similar organizations rule in favor of students, if they do that here, the more ammunition goes into the pocket of the students at those public schools. At some point, they're going to be able to say, wait, hang on now. Hang on. Yes, this is a public school. And yes, those schools are private. But we are the exact same as those Dartmouth players. We as employees are in the exact same situation, so we should have the exact same rights. And then it's just going to be a matter of seeing if they can find somebody with a gavel and a funny coat that agrees with them. So we'll see how this plays out. The answer right now is hold tight. Sit tight. Whatever side of the aisle you're on, sit tight. Because the Dartmouth thing is not, it's going to have a huge impact for private schools. Because if they do allow them to be deemed private employees and therefore to unionize, are we going to see Dartmouth shut down basketball because they don't want to deal with it? Will Dartmouth players have a legal recourse to mandate Dartmouth basketball stay active? If they do, are we going to see Harvard and Yale and Brown and Princeton and other private institutions in the Ivy League go union? And if those players do go union and they follow the same path and all those basketball teams are obligated to stay active, do those tentacles start to reach out into the public schools? The answer right now, and a damn one of us knows. And if anybody tells you that they do, they are lying to you. Because there's going to be about 1 billion different judges and bureaucrats that are going to have something to say about this. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now. I don't know what we're going to talk about next. I got like 19 things and we got like 6 segments to fit them all in. Don't worry. We're good at this. We're going to get it done. Rob Lonzo and you, The Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. I had a topic in my head, and then the words just fizzled.
South Carolina upstate 67-60. Radford, the 9th seed in the tournament. They move on to play top overall seed High Point.
Attaboy, Jesse. I'm just here to help, pal.
69-64. The 49ers proved to 12-5 in the American. Right now they're looking at the 3rd seed in the conference tournament. Loyola Chicago beat Davidson 69-59. Davidson 5-12 in the A10. In overtime, SMU beat East Carolina 80-77.
I want to point something out to listeners and to Rob. I am not saying things to try to fight. That's how I really believe. And we've established several years ago that apparently I'm weird. So, I mean, you know. But I feel like if I go with something that I don't believe in, it's kind of like lying. But, you know.
News Talk 98.9 WRD Traffic Center. I'm Lloyd Houston on the Fan Upstate.
Something bad has happened to Mom.
Streaming March 14th on Peacock.
And it's only a guy analogy. This is 2024. We should be equal.
I can turn it the other way. But
I've never heard a girl use that analogy ever.
I mean, we literally have the term gold digger. That's literally a term. So, if the difference is for most fellas, what they are asking to be put on the table by a woman capable of being a gold digger is usually something that she doesn't really have to work that hard to provide.
I just, if one of my friends say you kicked above your covers, I'd say, shut up, punk. Because that's, what do you think of me? If you think I kicked above my coverage, you don't think a whole lot of me.
No, more importantly, they think very highly of the person.
It's what is she doing with you? Look at you.
Let me ask you this question. You drive a very lovely car. It's a nice car. It's a car that most people would be happy to have. If I rolled up next to you in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, it does not diminish the fact that your car is valued by most of society. It just means I'm in a car that is really, really, really nice. You can still say, my car is amazing. And I would go, yes, Lonzo, yes, it is. But this is a Lamborghini. It's on a different level. Doesn't make your car bad. It says more about what the Lamborghini is. Scarlett Johansson is a Lamborghini of women. She is out of my coverage range.
I still disagree with that. And I don't think Lamborghinis exist. I think they're like birds. I've never seen one up close. Have you?
I've driven one.
Braggart.
Yep.
Is this before or after sturdy? Because I got to imagine.
Oh, no, I was in my teens.
I got to imagine it's kind of hard to get into.
I was in my
It says someone whose car is hard to get into. But, it's getting out is a trick. You got to learn to swivel. Not everyone realizes you got to swivel in the seat and then your feet are on the ground. This is the kind where the doors go up type thing?
Yes. These had that door.
Yeah.
This was a Diablo.
I was going to say, when you get out of something like that, do you immediately try to push on it even though it has to go up?
It was a Lamborghini Diablo. It was on campus when I was in college. There was like a luxury car thing that was taking these cars on tours. And so you could go to a local track and drive them. I tell you, they're like, please don't get the car over 65 miles an hour. I was at 65 before I got over the start line. Dude, those things are quick. You know what? I was going to do a sports thing, but I got to come back to this. Yes, you can outkick your coverage. That's a real thing. If it wasn't a real thing, we wouldn't have the very, very, very well-known expression, outkicked your coverage. This is the analogy I used for Lonzo during the break. Join us on the stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, the Fan Upstate on YouTube, The Rob Brown Show on Twitch. Lonzo drives a very nice car. It is a car that most people would be envious of. It's a sexy car, if I may say so myself. Lonzo's got a fantastic car. It is a car that if tomorrow somebody came up to me and said, hey, Rob, congrats, you've won Alonzo's car, I would lose my mind about it. It's a wonderful car. Now, if tomorrow I was to show up to work in my, let's say, Bugatti and park in the spot next to Lonzo, it does not diminish Lonzo's sexy sports car. It just means that the Bugatti is on a different level. It doesn't make one thing worse. It just means that thing is really, really, really nice. Your car is an exceptional car. Your car, I would take your car over 95% of the cars that we see park in this parking lot any given day.
Tom Steele would be the other car that you would think. That's above my level.
There's one more guy that works here that has a car that it's not better than yours. It's just a personal favorite.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All
it's
right.
just I have an affinity for this make and model. So 95% of the cars in the parking lot, I would take Lonzo's car over them. Without a doubt, without a question, without a thought. But If tomorrow somebody pulled up in a Bugatti and they said, you can either take Lonzo's car or you can take the Bugatti, what are you doing? 99% of us are taking the Bugatti.
I wish you would have stuck with Lamborghini. I have no idea what a Bugatti is.
It's nicer than a Lamborghini.
No way.
Okay, it's top end.
That's impossible.
It's the number one car, right? It's the Scarlett Johansson of the car world.
I think we all know what woman is Rob's preference, because that's his go-to, Scarlett Johansson.
Dude, she is, listen, she's Black Widow, okay? Yes.
She doesn't
Scarlett
really look
Johansson.
like that usually, but I guess if you talked her into it.
Scarlett Johansson in a world of beautiful women, Scarlett Johansson is absolutely dream girl status. Ain't no doubt.
By the way, Lamborghini I would prefer over a Bugatti. I'm looking at it, so it's a little odd.
Either way, whichever one it is, either way, no matter what happens or however you want to label it, if one of those was to end up next to your rig, 99% of people are taking that car. It does not diminish that your car is very nice, is very sexy. It's a great car. It just means the car next to that is out of the realistic range for the majority. That's not to say Rob Brown will never have a Bugatti or a Lamborghini or whatever else.
There's a good chance that that's probably not going
Here's
to
hoping.
happen.
Here's hoping.
You know, I hope you get those dreams.
Do you know what that means? It means if I get one, I have outkicked my coverage.
No, it means you're not rich. That's what that means. Yes.
Correct.
But you could be.
I don't have the necessary qualities
So
to
you-
even show up on ScarJo's radar.
So you're saying the only way to get someone on that level is to be rich?
No. What I'm saying is you got to do something that is beyond what you are as a person.
If you come up to me and say you outkicked your coverage, I'm gonna say, "Shut up, punk."
That's nice. Again, the czar of idealism is your title
It's
for a
not.
reason.
I mean, because I love me, and you should love you more. You should love you enough to go, you know what? If I were available, I could be with anyone I want to
Does
be.
anybody listening to this show think that Rob Brown has a problem loving him some Rob Brown? Rob Brown loves some Rob Brown.
If you think you can outkick your coverage, then yes, you don't love yourself
I
enough.
have outkicked my coverage. I absolutely have outkicked my coverage.
How do you know that people don't say the same thing to her?
They might.
Look at what a catch you got.
They might.
Well, women don't say that, so only guys say that.
That is absolutely and entirely untrue as well.
It's I've never heard a woman say it.
That's fine. How many of you asked? Because I've heard them say it a lot. There is, dude, listen, the concept of outkicking your coverage is a real thing. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be talking about it. We wouldn't be having the discussion. Outkicking your coverage is if I came into the studio tomorrow with a Bugatti, what would your reaction be? Nice car, Rob. No, you'd be like, what the hell? Did you steal it?
No,
Who did you murder and take their car?
I would say making that deal with the Spartanburg Mafia was a mistake. That's what I would say.
Hey.
We know you're listening. We know you're out there,
Right.
Spartanburg.
The point is, you would have to acknowledge if I showed up tomorrow in a Bugatti that I very clearly did something probably not good to end up with it. That would be your response. Because it would be out of a realistic expectation today.
Maybe I would
of
say
what I should and can have.
Maybe I would say, hey, Rob, are you happy? If you are, good.
That's okay. Again, the czar of idealism. I understand your desire to murder every analogy and metaphor I ever bring to the show.
I apologize that I don't think the same way you do. Or maybe, I don't think the same way that anyone does. It's a possibility.
Lonzo, if your son showed up to the car to your house tomorrow driving a Bugatti, you're telling me you'd walk out and be like, I'm so happy for you.
All
You
right.
would be like, yo, where the hell did this car come from?
This is not me trying to kill it. If he could afford that, he would not drive it up to my house. No, because it would get tore up on the driveway, and that would be.
We all know you don't need to break down the technical of the metaphor. If your kid pulled up to this radio station today and said, Dad, look, I got a Bugatti, you would just go, I'm so proud of you, son.
No.
You wouldn't go, where the hell did you get
No,
a Bugatti?
I would not. I would say, did you get a raise? Can you afford the insurance on that? I mean,
Right,
yeah.
because it's above the expectations that
No,
you have
it's-
for where he
it's-
is in life, and that's not bad.
It's above your means. And that has nothing to do. This analogy does not
He
work.
gets it.
This
He
analogy,
got it.
this analogy
We
doesn't
walked
work.
him into it.
Rob, you are not lesser than any woman that you could date. You cannot outkick your coverage because you're an amazing human being, and you should think that about yourself enough to go, I could be with anyone if I wanted to, if you were single, and you're not. But if you were, she's not out of reach.
Hey, Sofia Vergara, call me.
All right.
I'm good enough for you.
That's
Sofia Vergara.
she's a lot older than you. I don't know if she's willing to.
You think I give a good gosh
I
darn?
mean, she's like 50, isn't she?
And hashtag still got it. Like way still got it. Call me, Sophia.
Out of all the things that we've ever argued about, this is the one that bothers me the most because it's the analogy doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't.
It's a perfect analogy. It's a perfect analogy. If Pappy rolled up in the Bugatti and you didn't look at him and go, this car is beyond what you should be today, capable of buying, purchasing, acquiring, how did you end up with this car? It's the same thing for Scarlett Johansson. How did you end up with her? Because it is outside of your means for that. Sorry, Colin Jost. I don't mean to objectify your
comparing
wife, Colin.
women to cars is so 3 o'clock.
There it is.
It's so 3 o'clock.
This is where you should have gone 10 minutes ago. You should have made me look like a macho loser 10 minutes ago, but here we are.
I was trying to be gentle.
Don't do that here since when? Hey, would you look at that? It's almost 7 o'clock. We got to run to a break. When we come back, it is time for your...
Wait a minute. I'm Dartmouth. I don't want to do it.
Lonzo is making irresponsible demands of me in this show. I demand you do the sports flash. I honestly thought you were going to say no for a second.
Yeah, no, I'll do it because I'm required to by somebody else. The South Carolina men's basketball team bid for an SEC regular season title came to an end at the hand of the Tennessee Volunteers last night with a 66-59 loss. The Gamecocks shot only 10 free throws and made only 5 and shot 8 of 29 from the floor and had only 11 assists on the night. Tennessee claimed the regular season conference crown with the win. It's not that the Warriors beat the Bucks, it's how. With the Bucks back at full strength, Steph Curry led Golden State to a 125-90 win with 29 points, including 6 of 10 from deep. Giannis had 23. Dame and Bobby Portis had 20, but no other Milwaukee player reached double figures. Tune in Saturday night at 8 o'clock as the Furman men's Paladins take on Western Carolina right here on the Fan, upstate.
That's it. That's it. Texter said the Spartanburg Mafia has heard you and we want to meet you at the Beacon.
You should ask them how much, what do you got to give up for that Bugatti? You could drive that Bugatti through Old Spartanburg, where the big houses are. Where there might be someone standing in the corner that's a lookout to see who you are. There might be, possibly. Outside the bin.
The bin.
I've grown tired of heated debate this morning.
Already?
Yes. I'm getting older.
Just got started.
I know. I'm retiring. Why did you get traded again? Because I don't believe in out kicking your coverage. And that was it. That was the end of everything.
Sponsored by Pfizer. Now, CBS Sports Radio.
You
need more? Listen on your phone. Download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say
Flag free yesterday. Let's see if we can do it again today.
4 for 2, baby.
All we had to do is come at Belarus a little bit, and they backed down.
Yeah, take that, Belarus. We ain't scared of you.
Belarus. Come on. Did nobody do anything to it on this end, Jacob? Maybe Spartanburg Mafia got your comment.
Spartanburg Mafia. Texter said the Spartanburg Mafia has heard us and wants to meet at the Beacon. Texter said the man, I sound good this morning. Where's that coming from? How do we what do we do to break it? How do we break it?
It's me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm also willing to blame you.
All right. No, I fixed it. So you know how if you click on a video, the auto plays. I was doing that to check a comment, and that's why that came on.
Gotcha.
And then it went to little window. It went to diesel window, and I didn't realize it did it, and I needed to exit out. So it's fixed now.
We got it fixed. Don't worry about it, people. The Rob Brown Show starts our numero dos now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Fan Upstate. Spectacular to have you with us here on a lovely Upstate Thursday morning. Rob Brown and the great one Lonzo with you here on the broadcast. It is just after 7 o'clock in the morning. You, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, are now less than an hour away from having a clock. And if you got one of those normal 8 to 5 jobs, and if you do have one of those normal 8 to 5 jobs, you are just about to punch the clock. And you're going to sit down and you're going to read through your emails. Ugh, worst part of the day. And then you're going to have to reply to those. And then the boss is going to say, how's that project coming along? And you go, it's good, boss. Don't worry about it. And then the best part of the day, the part of the day where you walk down the hallway, you go to the water cooler, you stand around with your coworkers and you pretend like the world's not real and you talk sports. And if you're going to do that, you're going to need this.
Shut the hell up.
Coworkers say that to me all the time. I don't know why. Take your idealism and go back to your office and close the door.
It is your water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with your coworkers. Let us begin with item number 1. The South Carolina Gamecock men's basketball program entered yesterday's contest with the Tennessee Volunteers very much alive for an opportunity to win the regular season Southeastern Conference basketball championship. They had an opportunity with a dub last night to do anything from win the thing to be involved in a 5-way tie for first when the next round and the final round of games were completed. However, none of those scenarios matter because the Gamecocks could not get it done. They dropped one to the number 4 Tennessee Volunteers last night. 66-59 was your final. The Gamecocks split the season series with the Volunteers 1-1. Tennessee is going to win the conference outright, though the two teams now share an equal regular season record, both of them at 24-6. South Carolina's conference record is 12-5. Tennessee's improves to 14-3. So the Big Orange T are kings of the SEC. South Carolina last night made it 30 minutes into the game. 10 minutes played in the second half, and they had shot 2 free throws. Now, there's one of two reasons, or a combination of both, that happened.
Referees.
Is one of the two reasons. The refs were letting the boys play last night. Although there is a second thing that came into play. If you are not the type of person who wants to put any blame on the officiating. No, I'm not one of those guys. Sometimes referees have a bad night too. Just like players do, sometimes officials have a bad night. I think the officials last night had a bad night. They were, I think, trying to let the fellas play. They were trying to let the players decide the game. But here's the thing. When foul calls are at a premium, you have to play to that. That has to be something that is considered in the way that you are attacking the game. Early in the game, I think South Carolina got away from what it is that they do. What is it that they do? A lot of ball movement around the perimeter, a lot of passing, and then look for open lanes. It is the desire to move the ball around, to pull the defense in different directions, and eventually open something up. It is get the ball out wide. See if you can find Michi in the corner for a three-point effort. I am going to say, though, it doesn't help when Michi Johnson goes 0 for 7 from behind the arc. 0 for 7. 0 for 7. That's not good. But part of the reason that he went 0 for 7 is because the majority of the three-point efforts that he lifted in the first half of play were contested. Because instead of that ball movement offense that we all kind of got used to out of South Carolina, that ball movement offense that is designed to make the defense move left, move right, move right, move left, move left, move right, until somebody makes a mistake, until somebody gets out of position, until the defensive discipline breaks down and a lane opens somewhere. A passing lane inside to BJ Mack, a cross-court reverse pass to the other side for an open three, whatever the case might be. They stopped doing that. In fact, for about, 27, 28 minutes of ball game last night, South Carolina, at least it felt like to me, was playing more isolation basketball than I've seen them play all year. It was the same thing that they tried to do against Alabama. It was the same thing that they tried to do against Auburn, a pair of games that they got their butts whooped. They tried the same thing last night. I don't know why. This has been and is my biggest concern for this team going into the SEC tournament, going into the national tournament. That when games get tough, this team changes how it plays. You've heard the expression in sports before. You dictate the game, do not have the game dictated to you. It feels to me like when you get a guy like Dalton Connect, who starts popping off. By the way, 26 points on 9 of 23 from the floor last night. 5 threes popped through for Dalton Connect. The refs aren't calling anything. they are letting you play. If the refs aren't calling anything, if they are allowing very physical play, do you know what the worst thing you can do is? The worst thing you can do is try to play one-on-one ISO ball with guys going into the paint. If they're not calling fouls, don't dribble into the chest of the defender. Tennessee dictated the game to South Carolina last night, and at home, Carolina just couldn't answer. Now, they had a pretty good run going late in the contest. Michi had a couple of, 2-3 ball movement passes, and then followed by, okay, lane open, now I can drive. And I got no problem with that. That's what you should be doing. But when you're in a spot where these officials are very clearly going to allow a little bit more contact than normal, then getting away from ball movement, stretching the defense, forcing them to move, waiting for a lane, and then finding BJ Mack underneath or finding Colin Murray-Boyles for the mid-range jumper. That's got to be the offense. And the problem now that I have, if this was, game number 7, I'd be like, all right, it's a young team. It's a team that wasn't expected to do anything this year. They've got to learn this lesson. Problem is that was game number 30. If in game number 30, I can't trust you to recognize how the game is being officiated, how the other team is trying to dictate the game, and to not allow them to do that, and to play a game that fits the way the game is being officiated, then I can't trust you at all.
You have talked about all season long about sometimes they have immaturity and they do things a certain way that they shouldn't do and let games get away from them. Isn't this the best time to have this happen before the SEC tournament and before the NCAA tournament to wake them up? Because last time they had a problem like this, they woke up and they played better.
Theoretically, but the answer to that is only if you learn from it and change it, right?
And there's a certain amount of this that goes back to coaching, right?
Here's this weird spot, because on one hand, Lamont Paris took a team projected to be dead last in the conference and went 12-5 in it. Lamont Paris took a team projected to be dead last in the conference and last night was playing for a chance to win it. He took a team that was projected to be dead last in the conference and he had them locked in 3 weeks ago. They were a lock to get in. On the flip side, last night, I gotta wonder, was there no point where Lamont Paris couldn't have called a timeout, brought the boys over, and been like, guys, stop playing ISO ball. Stop trying to go one-on-one through the chest when the stripes ain't blowing the whistle. They played 30 minutes and shot 2 free throws. Listen, I'm not sitting here. Yes, it was a poorly officiated game, okay? And frankly, to the Gamecock fans that are ready to light up the text line with, oh, we got screwed. Tennessee wasn't getting that many calls either. Now, they did end up over doubling up your free throws, but that's because they got about 6 at the end where South Carolina was fouling, hoping they were missing free throws, giving themselves a chance to come back and win this thing. The free throw discrepancy was really closer to like 10 shot for South Carolina, 12, maybe 14 shot for Tennessee. The difference is Tennessee recognized how this game was being called, and they played to that. Lamont Paris should have called a timeout about 8 minutes into this game and said, get over here. Pass the ball movement. I don't care if you have 39 passes before somebody takes a shot. I don't care if you work the shot clock down to 1 on every possession. Move the ball. Move the ball. Because this crap of trying to have somebody go full LeBron James and dribble through the chest of defenders, it's not getting you calls. That offense checks out when you get calls. We're not getting calls. So It's a weird spot, Zoe, because on one hand, Lamont Paris unquestionably has done an incredible job with his basketball team. On the flip side, last night was kind of on him.
So he can't, it seems like he can't handle, at least now, when things get out of hand, or he can't make in-game adjustments.
I don't know, because remember, he beat this team in Knoxville, right? He went to Tennessee and knocked off the team that is now not only your Southeastern Conference regular season champions, they're a 1 seed in the tournament, and you went to their house and beat them.
Yeah, but you got a chance to beat them again, right? You got a chance to play them again in the SEC tournament.
Here's the problem. Team I saw last night, I don't trust them. And that's not a shot, because this team's real good. I have been I'm going to pat myself on the back. I've been talking about this team as much, if not more, than everybody else has been talking about this team. I enjoy watching this team play. But that team that I saw last night, I don't trust them, because you know what they look like? They look like a team that don't know ball last night. I hate to say it, because that's the worst insult I can levy on anybody. It's the worst thing I can say about you. I can say your mama's fat and ugly. That's not as bad as if I say you don't know ball. Last night, this team looked like a team that don't know ball, because the fixes to what was happening last night, the fixes were very obvious. They were right there, and they never made them. All right, we got to get a couple more stories in here. Let's go to item number 2. United States women on to the Gold Cup final after they won a PK extra time shootout over Canada. They needed to dominate this game, in my opinion. And they needed to dominate this game because after the L to Mexico during the group stage of the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup, during the group stage, they lost to Mexico for the first time since like 2001. And there's a new guard of women's soccer players. And so, and rightfully so, the question started being asked. Has Team USA women's soccer hit their high water mark? Are they done? Have we lost the dominance that defined this team for so long? And my thought was, go beat Canada by 7 and prove that the answer is no. And I think they coulda, shoulda, woulda, except for they played in a damn monsoon last night. They played in a game that during the first half, before they literally squeegeed the field at halftime. In the first half, there were visible standing water puddles on the field. There were spots where ladies were hitting crosses that would get into the box, hit a water puddle, and just stop. They'd kick the crap out of the ball. It'd go 10, 15 yards, hit a puddle, and just die off. Last night's game, I am sorry to say, should not have been played. I'm glad we won. The extra time and PK victory is one that I think does a lot for the mindset of this team as they get set to go to the W League finals. Or, excuse me, the W Gold Cup final. But that game shouldn't have been played. Heavy rains, high winds, made it unpredictable, kind of took the soccer out of the game and basically turned into who's not going to fall apart in the rain. Who can swim better was basically it. But sometimes at the end of the day, if you're a champ, you just got to do champ stuff. And last night they did. The Americans on to the finals of the CONCACAF W Gold Cup. And looking forward to hopefully playing in better weather. The U.S. will play Brazil, who knocked off Mexico 3-0 on Wednesday afternoon, this Sunday at Snapdragon Stadium. We will have the results of that game for you on Monday. And finally, let's get to item number 3. I'm not going to lie to you. As far as news goes, today's kind of a slow day. Okay, it's just kind of a slow day. So item number 3 comes from the world of tennis. 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal. I don't know why I stumbled on the end there. Rafael Nadal was set to play in the BNP Paribas Open at Indian Wells. And it was going to be the first time we've gotten to see Rafi Nadal in a while. He has played since January, since the 2022 U.S. Open, has played just 12 official matches, and he has not looked like the same old Rafi. He took some time after surgery to get his hip right. We were hoping to see a dominant return, but at 37 years old, it would appear that Rafael Nadal, as all athletes do, great one, has lost the most important match of his career. That is the one against Father Time. Rafael Nadal had everybody excited to see him show up, to see him lace him up at Indian Wells. Instead, he withdraws the day before the tournament. And Rafi, we hardly knew ye. Thank you for the memories.
No, I think we knew ye for a long time.
We really did.
I mean, tennis seems to be one of those sports that you can play for a really long time and be at the top of your game, and then boom, it's gone tomorrow.
This dude had surgery. Everybody was looking forward to getting him back. 12 matches since the 2022 U.S. Open. It is now, for those of you keeping track that don't have a calendar nearby, 2024. Bummer, dude. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, Nicholas Lou Saban is in the news. Nick did a sit-down with ESPN yesterday. And he said lots of words into a microphone. Some of those words were very good words, the best words. Some of those words kind of got under my skin just a little bit. And as somebody who appreciates, loves Nick Saban for his contributions to college football, I want to address all of them. And we will do it when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Steven, good morning, big dog. Yeah, I get it. Lonzo wouldn't make fun of you, Wesley. Lonzo doesn't make fun of anybody.
Nothing there to make that stop. I don't know why that did that. That wasn't making fun of that was pride, dude. I mean, that's cool. Can get into cum listeners and all that technical stuff. It is a rare thing for someone to listen to an entire show, and we appreciate it.
We do.
I usually only make fun of people with C in their name. I think that's the best use ever parked.
Did she get inside the lines today?
Oh, it's pretty straight.
Most excellent dudes.
It's been years in the making, and now Greenville is home to the most epic comic and game store around. Borderlands Comics and Games. Reimagined, bigger, and better than before. The state's premier hobby shop has been bringing the best in comics, manga, and gaming to the region for 3 decades.
During the next break, you should walk over to her place of business, shake her hand.
I'm so proud of you, ma'am. Don't worry, I only creepily stare at your parking job every day.
You might not know this, but the Ingalls Bakery is actually a bakery. As in, we bake things, really delicious things. Things like crusty breads, just waiting for that scrumptious strawberry jam. Apple fritters to pair perfectly with that morning cup of coffee. Cakes for any occasion.
Ooh, cake.
Customized to your precise standards. And did we mention the cookies? It's all in the bag. Ingalls, low prices, love the savings.
Pluto TV is TV the way it should be, free, with over 300 channels, thousands of movies and TV shows costing zeros of dollars. So if you want to watch shows like Ghost, The Walking Dead, CSI, Star Trek, or The Price is Right, well, The Price is Right. It's free. Hit movies like Braveheart, Sonic.
Well, Wesley, we will continue to stream every day just so you don't have to miss the upstate, buddy. Also, how's Puerto Rico? It's on the list of vacation destinations for yours truly and the lady friend.
Chewable tablets protects against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms. All in one delicious beef-flavored soft chew. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting the preventive. Ask your vet about NexGard Plus Chews.
Spring training is here, and the free Odyssey app has everything.
If you think I haven't considered yet hiring Cole Bryson to become the official goose eliminator of the Fan Upstate, you don't know me at all, Steven.
I think all Cole's pictures are staged. I don't think he can really shoot that well. I don't think he can fish that well. He took a Photoshop course in college.
That's it.
Take control of your listening experience with Rewind on the Odyssey app. Missed a jaw-dropping moment? No worries. With Rewind, you can relive big moments from Mark Ryan, Rob Brown, Jim Rome, and more.
Smith and James, the next break.
Smith and James. Rob Brown time. Rob Brown time. Nicholas Lou Saban is the GOAT. I don't think it's a discussion. I just think he's the GOAT at this point. There's nobody that's ever been better than Nicholas Lou Saban. And Nicholas Lou Saban, to some degree, shocked a large swath of America a couple of weeks ago when Nicholas Lou Saban decided that he was calling it a career. 88 out the gate, done, goodbye. And since then, had gone relatively radio dark. We haven't really heard a lot from Nicholas Lou Saban since he decided to walk away from the University of Alabama. And so it got a lot of people asking, but why? But why, Nick? Why? Yesterday, he sat down to do a one-on-one interview with ESPN's Reese Davis, and he finally explained to the college football masses why. Now, there were multiple aspects to this, and I am going to set them up in a way that I find the most entertaining and makes for good radio. So, Reese Davis said, Nick, why, pray tell, did you decide it was time to walk away? And the very first answer he gave was this.
Why did you decide that this was the right time to retire?
Well, I don't think there's any good time, especially when you're a coach, because once you're a coach, you think you're going to be a coach forever. But I actually thought that in hiring coaches, recruiting players, that my age started to become a little bit of an issue. People wanted assurances that I would be here for 3 years, 5 years, whatever, and that got harder and harder for me to be honest about. And to be honest, this last season was grueling. It was a real grind for us to come from where we started to where we got to. Took a little more out of me than usual. And, you know, when people mentioned the health issue, it was really just the grind of, can you do this the way you want to do it? Can you do it the way you've always done it? and be able to sustain it and do it for the entire season. And if I couldn't make a commitment to do that in the future, the way I think I have to do it, I thought maybe this was the right time based on those two sets of circumstances that, like I said, there's never a good time. But I thought maybe this was the right time.
No problem with any of that. That's all fine, right? My man is 70 plus years old.
I was going to say, are you going to criticize that? That's, yeah.
My dog is 70 plus years old. If Nick said, yeah, I'm good, this is like a lot of work, my dudes. This is like hard work, and there is a lot of it. And that's how he decides he wants to go out. Zero issue with that. If anybody's earned it, Nicholas Lou Saban has earned it. No issue there. Then he got asked, because he mentioned stress, right? He mentioned the stress of putting together a coaching staff and recruiting. And he said this year he had to get more involved with running the defense because it just wasn't what he had hoped it would be. And that took more time away from all of the other things he had to do. It was just more stressful.
You know, I think that my role was a little different this year. I was more involved with the defense, had to be more involved with the defense. That took a little more time, put a little more stress, on me, made me feel like maybe I wasn't doing as good a job as I needed to in other parts of our team. And I just have a high standard for how I do things. And if I don't feel like I'm living up to that standard, I'm really disappointed. I wasn't disappointed in the season. I wasn't disappointed in the team. I wasn't disappointed in the players. In fact, this team was fun to coach. They came a long ways, and I was really proud, of the way everybody bought in and did what they did to have the success that we had. But at the same time, I felt like I could have done a better job if I was younger.
Me too, Nick. Me too.
But he also, he is coming at the defensive coaches, though.
That's my first thought.
Yeah.
Did Alabama's ex-defensive coordinator just become persona non grata in Tuscaloosa, Alabama?
And he didn't mention that too if he had to help, that's because they weren't doing their job.
I think he has said in other interviews that they just didn't have the talent level on defense that they've had in years gone by.
Yeah, but if you don't have the talent level on defense, you're saying you don't have the talent level in coaching either, because it takes Nick to help to bring that out of the players that are there.
The impression I've gotten is it's more along the lines of, I didn't do a good enough job building this roster to where the defense could just operate on its own. But we'll put that aside, because that's not even the part that got me. He was asked about the ever-changing impact of the college football world, and he gave this answer. Now, there's more to it coming afterwards, and I'll tell you the direction that's going in.
It did not have any effect on my decision. I've always been one that no matter what's happened through the years, whether they went no huddle and you had to adapt to it, they threw RPOs and you had to adapt to it. We had a changing environment in college football. My thing was always, don't complain about it. Try to figure out what the best solution is so that you can compete well in whatever the environment is. And that's always the approach that I've taken in the situation and circumstances that we're in.
So, a couple of things. Nick said that the changing landscape of collegiate football had nothing to do with his walking away from the game. And I am going to say, with all due respect to Nick Saban, I don't believe you. And it's not that I don't believe you. It's that Nick Saban also did another interview. He did an interview with ESPN's Chris Lowe, an SEC-specific reporter for the four-letter. Now, that interview he did right there, that was with Reese Davis. He did one with Chris Lowe as well. And in the interview with Chris Lowe asked him, did the changing landscape of college football, specifically NIL and the portal, chase you out of the game? Now, I could not find this morning the audio from the Chris Lowe interview. I scoured the internet for it. I can't seem to find it. That's not to say it's not available. I just couldn't find it. But I do have the quotes that he gave to Chris Lowe of ESPN, including this one. Remember, this is the guy who just said in the sound I just played for you that the changing landscape of college football did not chase him out. Quote, I want to be clear. That wasn't the reason, ... but some of those events certainly contributed. Okay, maybe, I guess, big language guy over here. The words you say and the order you say them in and the context behind them matter. So it's fair to say it wasn't the reason. But he said in that one, it's like that wasn't a reason. Now, I want to get to where Nick Saban went next. He said, quote, I was really disappointed in the way that the players acted after the game, talking about the loss to Michigan. You got to win with class. You got to lose with class. We had our opportunities to win the game, and we didn't do it. And then showing your ass and being frustrated and throwing helmets and doing that stuff, that's not who we are and what we've promoted in our program, end quote. He went on to say, quote, I thought we could have a hell of a team next year. And then maybe 70 or 80% of the players you talk to, all they want to know is two things. What assurances do I have that I'm going to play because they're thinking about transferring? And how much are you going to pay me? Our program here was always built on how much value can we create for your future and for your personal development, academic success, and graduating and developing an NFL career on the field. So I'm saying to myself, maybe this doesn't work anymore, that the goals and aspirations are just different, and that it's all about how much money can I make as a college player. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's never been what we were all about, and it's not why we had success through the years. Okay. Nick. You just did, in reverse, the classic old, no offense, but if someone looks you in the eyeballs and they say to open a phrase to you, no offense, but the next thing they're going to say is probably going to be at least a little offensive. If somebody looks you in the eyeballs and they say to you, hey, not to be racist, but the next thing they say is probably going to be kind of racist. That's been a joke for years, and it's a joke because it's a thing. So for you to go on for like 9 sentences about how all this stuff has changed and it's, it drove you out of football, but then to end it with, I'm not saying that's bad. No, you kind of just did, because you started by saying, I thought we were going to have a good team next year, which means that you were going to come back for next year. And then you decided not to come back for next year. And you immediately went to the attitude of the team to justify your decision not to come back next year. Don't say it's not bad, it's not wrong, I don't have a problem, because you do have a problem with it. That's why you left. You just said that. Now, had Saban just said, yeah, this isn't the college football landscape I want to participate in anymore, I would have said, okay, cool. Like, college football was better for having Nick Saban in it, but it doesn't need Nick Saban. It was better when Nick Saban was the czar of the college football world, but it doesn't need him to survive. And if he's decided the landscape we're in now is not one in which he wants to continue his reign of terror, then walk away, man. Thanks for everything you did. We'll celebrate. I'll have an oatmeal cream pie for you to celebrate. Good on you. Enjoy retirement, my dude. You've earned it. You're a legend. You're the GOAT. Not even the GOAT so far. The GOAT. Period. No more.
You're an ageist. The oatmeal cream pie.
No, that's his thing. He's
Is
that's
it?
all he does
Okay.
is eat oatmeal cream pies.
I thought you were going at him because he's
No,
old
not at all.
with the cream.
That's his thing. That's his trademark. He loves an oatmeal cream. He has 2 for breakfast every day of his life. To the point that when he retired, the Bama fans started dropping boxes of oatmeal cream pies out front of the Nick Saban statue near Bryant-Denny because apparently he died, I guess.
I think they have like 10 years shelf life on them, so probably you could collect those and never have to buy anymore.
Here's the second thing. I'll tell you this: the stuff about all they care about is can you assure me I'm going to play and can I make money? That's how all of us operate in the real world.
Got to be really hard again. And you always criticize me when I say this, or at least I believe you do. Got to be really hard to be a coach in college football right now. And that's the changing landscape. And if you're someone who's done things a certain way, even though you've adjusted many times as he has done, sometimes I think you look at it and go, you know what? This one, I can't adjust to this. I'm out. And that's what it seems like he did.
Sure.
And he's, as you said, like 77. So, I mean,
Nick Saban was making a paltry, Lonzo, $1.105 million a year salary to coach Alabama.
I don't know. Why are we talking about money?
I'll get you there.
Doubt it.
A paltry $1.105 million a year. He also made something called a talent fee, which checked in at only $9.595 million a year. We are now making over $10 million a year. And then
America.
You pull in all the other things that Nick Saban does, car endorsements and this, and he gets a free house and he gets free cars.
Affleck.
He gets that, and he gets Affleck money. Nick Saban, I guarantee you, was making north of probably, I would guess, I'm going to say on the low end, just his Alabama fee was $11.1 million a year. You throw in the endorsements, I guarantee you he's making $20 million a year. Yes, coaching's hard. That's why you got $20+ million a year to do it, because it's a real hard job, and it just got harder. You're still making a lot of money.
So does the money make the job less hard?
No,
I know, that's what I don't get about the money
saying
part.
Stop bleeping about how hard it is. You make $11 million a year, and that's just from the school.
All right. I think if a job is hard, it's okay to talk about how hard, about the changing landscape, and about how difficult it is to keep a player who wants to go somewhere else and make more money. It is very difficult to keep employees. And now that this is definitely what it's always been, a job, and college players are employees, it's hard to be a manager sometimes.
Of course it is. It was hard to be a coach before this stuff happened.
It's got to be harder now, though.
Yes,
because
I
you cannot
agree.
build a team and believe that all the players are going to be there from season to season. That makes it very difficult.
I don't disagree. Here's the problem. The problem here is that this is a dude who spent 20 minutes, exaggerating, who spent a bunch of time right there when asked why he's leaving, putting the blame on the players. Oh, they were throwing their helmets after they lost. Oh, dude, who is in charge? I could be wrong here. Been a long time since I put on a helmet. Who's in charge of instilling discipline on a football team? I think it's the head coach. So if your players were, and I'm using your words here, Nick, showing their ass after a loss, that's on you, bro. That's on you. You're the head coach. It's your job to instill the correct mentality and discipline on the football team, not theirs to just know it. That's your job. And then he says, oh, guys want assurances they're going to play, and they're thinking about transferring, and they want to know how much money they're going to make. Then maybe either A, lean into that, lean into making the best team you can around that, or go the opposite way and bust your hump to go recruit guys who aren't like that. Go find 22 guys who ain't that way. Go find 22 guys who say, Coach, I'm not really worried about the money. I just want to play on a championship team, and recruit those guys. That is, Nick, that's your job, guy.
You mean idealists?
That's your job. If you want to live in the world of illusion with the czar of idealism, Lonzo, then you have to recognize I'm going to have to push real hard back against real life to do it. Nick, stop. Just say the job got hard and I didn't want to do it anymore. And that's okay. Nobody's going to fault you. You're not a 24-year-old strapping young man who says, I don't want to do a job. You're 70 plus years old. Just say the job's hard, but dropping elbows on the players, inappropriate, unacceptable. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Smith.
All right, guys, quick live reading. We're coming right back. Y'all stay right there.
And by the way, John, I'm just cracking on Cole Bryson. If the zombie apocalypse were to happen, there are two people I want by my side. Cole Bryson is one and Bill Frady's the other. If you don't know who he is, look it up and you'll understand why. I'm safe with those two guys and I'm well fed. The question is, why would they want me along for the zombie apocalypse? But, you know.
Would they? They wouldn't want me. I don't know. I've taught myself how to grow food the last couple of years.
Well, maybe you want me along just because sense of humor. I mean, you know, the world.
We're gonna die laughing.
You're surrounded by exactly. I mean, you know. As they're picking off zombies from 500 yards out, I'm going to have something funny to say more than likely. Or maybe I criticize them to the point to make them more accurate. Maybe that's what it is. You call that a shot?
Lonzo's going to hate them into being a more efficient killer.
Yeah. As long as they don't turn it on me when they realize there's no law anymore, I'm probably good. Also, I guarantee probably both of them have bunkers.
Brady absolutely has a bunker.
Well fortified, stocked with food.
The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob and the Great Lonzo with you on a lovely Upstate Thursday morning. Should you wish to be a part of the program, now is a most excellent time to do it. 71307 is the text line. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. The renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone as 844-326-3663. You can tweet X post us. I am at the Rob Brown Show because I'm a marketing genius. Lonzo at Lonzo on Word. If you have something that you want to say, we want to hear it. And you can get at us on the email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com is the email address. So, we were talking about this Saban thing. Got a couple of minutes here to wrap that up. Yahoo Sports went and looked. They did a survey amongst college football players. Not only have college football players been saying that they are happier in today's college football landscape than they ever have been before. On top of that.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a millionaire.
It's a shock.
I'm a millionaire. I'm happier.
Indeed, even NFL draft eligible talents are now choosing to stay in college rather than become mid-round draft picks. As recently as 2019, 135 players entered the draft early, part of a 7-year average of 115 players annually going to the draft early. This year, 58. 58. So I think one of the things that I want to point out here, is this. When people hear NIL and they start using words like millionaires, you were talking about maybe 25, 30 kids. Maybe in all of college football, of which, by the way, I will remind you that EA Sports has 10,000 plus college football players nationally that have enrolled to be in the EA Sports college football video game in a landscape of well north of 10,000 athletes.
You can't make $1 million if you don't start with 600.
The journey of of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. In a landscape of over 10,000 athletes, when people throw around the millionaire word, you are talking about at maximum a couple dozen at maximum. And by the way, most of the guys who are making a milli playing college football, they ain't going anywhere. Most of them are going to stay at the place that, got them $1 million. Now, that's not to say it's going to be that way forever. But if you're making $1 million playing at a school, the likelihood you jump somewhere else and have to upset your entire life and risk that is not real good. So the point that I'm making here is, yes, Nick, the job is hard. And that is why I have zero hard feelings about you deciding to walk away and go somewhere. You are 70 plus years old, man. You have earned the right to call your shot and say, you know what? The job's too tough and I don't want to do it anymore. Hell yeah. I get it, bro. I understand. I get that $20 million a year isn't enough money to do the job that you're doing right now because it's hard. I'm not mad at you for it. And I mean that. I know it sounds sarcastic as hell, but I mean it. The job's too hard.
No.
He's 70 years old.
No.
Have at it.
It doesn't sound sarcastic at all.
I know it sounds sarcastic. It's not. I am sincere when I say Nick Saban influenced the land of college football more than any other coach since, well, maybe Bear Bryant, Bobby Bowden, Joe Paterno. The list is short. What I am saying is I am not good with you dropping it on the players like they pushed you out. They didn't, dog. You decided it got too stressful. You decided it got too tough. And that's okay. Again, good. I'm glad. I'm happy. I hope you and Miss Terry have a long, healthy relationship and life in retirement. I hope that you stay around college football. I think it's better to have your voice included in the conversation. But do not put this on the feet of the – they slammed their helmets after we lost. Well, then coach them up, coach. It's your job to instill discipline in the players, not the players to just know it. If you don't want guys on your team that want assurances of playing time and money, then your job is to go recruit guys that don't have that mindset and mentality. But to go get guys who have that mindset and mentality and then get mad that they have that mindset and mentality, it's on you, bro. I love you. College football's better for having had you in it, and it will be better if you stay in it. But do not slam the players that you brought to Alabama in the NIL and portal era for driving you out. That's your decision, my dude.
Congratulations. I didn't think you could say a word like a Southern Baptist preacher without the accent, but your mentality is definitely right there.
I was going to do something smart ass for the sports flash, but I'm just going to instead say, Lonzo, preach to the people.
I can't do it. The South Carolina men's basketball team bid for an SEC regular season title came to an end at the hand of the Tennessee Volunteers last night with the 66-59 loss. The Gamecocks shot only 10 free throws and made only 5 and shot 8 of 29 from the floor and had only 11 assists on the night. I don't know why I struggle with that. Tennessee claimed the regular season conference crown with the win. It took extra time and penalty kicks, but the United States women's national team found their way through to the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup finals with a 2-2 draw and a 3-2 PK winner. Heavy rains and pooling water slowed the pace of play, putting the U.S. at disadvantage. Kaylin Sheridan and Trinity Rodman both notched regular time goals. Tune in Saturday night at 8 p.m. as the Furman men's basketball team takes on Western Carolina in the first round of the Southern Conference right here on The Fan. Assist. It's not that hard of a word. Says the guy who couldn't say it 2 times in a row. I could say, whatever, Stephen, but thank you for pushing me, But I knew if I added the upstate, it was past the bed, and you'd be critical of me over that. So, I decided to use the Rob Brown method of abbreviating everything and just went with The Fan. I know, man, I can't win, but again, thank you for pushing me. It is a game I will win sometimes. Maybe not often, but sometimes.
Your janky phone.
We can all enjoy long, steaming, hot showers, even the last in line, which it seems is always me. But go ahead, have that imaginary argument of what you should have said. Take your time. With our new high-efficiency Navien tankless water heater, I'll never take a cold shower again. Visit tanklessmadesimple.com to learn more.
Furman's quest to repeat as Southern Conference champions begins on Saturday night in Asheville, and we've got all the action on the Fan Upstate.
Dun, 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 dun.
Between Furman and Western Carolina. Airtime 8 p.m. Tip at 8:30 at the Harris Cherokee Center in Asheville. Furman basketball SoCon tournament on the Fan Upstate.
WORD Spartanburg.
QC in the first break.
QC in the first break.
Rashad, next segment, right?
Yes, indeed. And off we go, ladies and gentlemen, into hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Radio program, right here and only on the Fan Upstate. How do you do?
How you doing?
Real good, Corey LaJoy. Thanks for asking. Real good, as we are getting set for a talk with Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. He is going to join us coming up in the next segment. Next hour, just a little over an hour and 15 minutes away from now, it's time for Fight Club with the great one, Lonzo, where we are going to discuss all things combat sports, and there's a lot of it this week. We have got some big-time boxing stuff to discuss. We have got a bit. It's honestly so the first UFC card in a while that I kind of feel compelled to watch. And I will acknowledge that during football season, the MMA world kind of has to take a back seat a little bit. It's not to say I don't check in. It's not to say I'm not following it, but it takes a back seat. And then you combine it with the fact that UFC has, I think, especially with, Bellator and PFF and some of these other organizations that have been finding a few more investors, getting some more resources, they've kind of been getting to a point where they've really been able to get some of the bigger names to come fight for them. And it has created a world in which UFC is not the home exclusively of the biggest athletes in the game anymore. And because of that, the cards haven't been as wildly compelling as they have been in years past. Now, again, I think right now, UFC is kind of starting to get back to where they used to be. They're kind of starting to get back to where there are compelling cards. There are compelling fights. Sugar Shane getting it on this weekend. Excited to see him back in the octagon. They kind of slipped out of my attention quite a bit, and it kind of feels like they're making the way back right now.
Yeah, I think another reason why they've slipped back, and football does have a lot to do with it, but I think wrestling has been so good lately that it's kind of taken, and it's the same company. I mean, if you look at WWE and UFC, so I think it's been so good that it's kind of taken away from me to the point where recently, if I had to choose between pay-per-views, I probably would go wrestling.
You're not wrong for it. Not wrong for it at all. So we'll talk some combat sports coming up in the next hour when we get to Fight Club. Texter said, Rob, 58 in the draft, but how many in the 2 portal windows? I'm guessing way more than the 130 to 150 that used to go to the draft early. Absolutely. I guarantee it without even looking it up. I bet there's 150 plus kids in the portal today, like right now, that don't have a spot to play yet. But as I have mentioned in the past, and this is where some folks have kind of pushed back on me a little bit. With adult opportunity comes adult consequence. If you want the right to transfer, it comes with the understanding that there's the consequence that you may not have anywhere to transfer to. You better think long and hard about putting your name in that portal. You better really make sure you list out the pros and cons before you decide that you for sure want to hit the portal, because your desire to transfer does not reflect the reality that there is a place for you to transfer to. I want lots of things. My wanting those things does not mean that those things are a reality for me, unfortunately. And because of that, when it's time for Rob Brown to make a decision, Rob Brown has to be real careful about the decisions that he makes. Because if he makes the wrong decision and he ends up making a decision for which there are adult consequences, Rob Brown may have to very well pay the piper. Not the Rowdy Roddy kind, the metaphorical kind. And if Rob Brown's got to pay the piper and there are consequences, they are of my own. Okay? They are of my own. So there are, I should say, consequences to these players having the right to transfer. This should not come as a surprise nor shock to anyone of you. They can transfer, and because they can transfer, they can also not have anywhere to transfer to.
All right. The best thing about the NIL has nothing to do with the players being paid, although it does help, is it might save college basketball, because it will eliminate some people leaving right away and going and being on the bench in the NBA when they can stay in college, hone their game, get paid, and get better before they go to the NBA and maybe jump right into the NBA into a starting position.
Yes, I would agree. We had this conversation earlier. We had this conversation about Caitlin Clark last week, remember? We talked about Caitlin Clark and the possibility, not probability, but possibility that Caitlin might decide to stay at Iowa because she could make more playing on NIL deals at Iowa than going to the WNBA. Obviously, she has now decided to enter the WNBA draft, and it is partially because a lot of the NIL deals we've talked about, she can still do those playing in the WNBA, but also because her favorite team growing up has the number 1 overall pick, and how many athletes get the opportunity to play for the team that they grew up a fan of. She is not going to pass up on that. Then we found out, and I found this very interesting. We found out, and we brought this up the other day. We found out that Caitlin Clark was potentially about to catch a NIL deal that would have paid her an exorbitant amount of money to remain at Iowa. And that NIL deal was going to come from Fox Sports. Of course, Fox Sports owns the rights to broadcast Big Ten athletics, meaning Fox Sports owned the rights to broadcast future Caitlin Clark games. Caitlin Clark got over 3.5 million people to tune into her final game against Ohio State. That was a record for a women's college basketball game. Had she come back for one more season and made one more run at it, I don't know how many more 3.5 million fan games she would have had, but obviously when Caitlin Clark is on TV, sports fans watch. And I rolled up in here earlier this week, and I said, hey, for those of you that are mad at NIL, should you not be mad at Fox Sports? If you're another team in the Big Ten, think about it. You're an Ohio State fan. You're an Iowa State fan. You're a Michigan fan. And you find out that the broadcasting outlet that owns the rights to broadcast your team's games was going to pay one of your conference rivals, teammates or team members, $1 bazillion to continue to kick your ass every year. How are you good with that? How are you upset about players transferring, but you're good with Fox Sports paying Caitlin Clark to continue to beat the hell out of your teams so that she can do it on the broadcast outlet that also owns your team media rights? And it seemed very telling to me that none of y'all really had a problem with it. Or at least you didn't vocalize that you did. I didn't get a lot of text about that. I didn't get a lot of tweets about that. And the few that I did were ones that were saying things about me. Rob, this is a bad take. Rob, Rob, you opened the window for this. Again, when the NIL stuff started, I was never against guardrails. I was never against regulations. One of the regulations I specifically called for was if you are an investor, and I would even specify to say, if you are a broadcast outlet that owns the right to a conference, you should not be able to hand out NIL money to players in that conference. If you're Fox Sports with the broadcast rights to the Big Ten, you should not be able to give NIL deals to Big Ten athletes. That is a direct conflict of interest as far as I'm concerned. And all I'm saying is Nick Saban comes out and says, oh, these players are concerned about money, as if, all of us that are human beings are concerned about maximizing our income. Nick Saban says it, and all of a sudden, everybody wants to drop elbows on the players. But when a massive billion-dollar broadcast outlet wants to pay a player on a team that they own the broadcast rights to stay in school and beat the hell out of the other teams that they own the broadcast rights to, not a word. Not a text, not a tweet, not an email, nothing.
I don't have a problem with what Nick Saban said. I do have a problem with what you're saying about Fox doing that, because that it's a bad look. It really is a really bad look when a network is willing to pay a player to keep playing.
I agree it's a bad look. It is a direct conflict of interest to me. If I was a Sparty fan, if I was a Bucknut, if I was a Cyclone.
Just didn't sound right. I got it. I mean,
If I was a fan of if I was a Golden Gopher, if I was a fan of any other Big Ten school, I would be infuriated.
I am curious, if you're a Clemson fan or a South Carolina fan, do you care about NIL? Are you still going to be there Saturday in your RV setting up for your long day?
First off, so that we're clear, RV tailgating is elite tailgating. RV tailgating
You're right.
Elite tailgating.
The people with the RVs, they have that spot every year. They've had it for a decade. It's been handed down from Diddy to son, and
Diddy's got a tailgate spot.
Keep that spot.
He's never offered me.
Well, he might have one in South Carolina. It's possible down in Columbia. But I'm curious. Does the average fan care?
Listen.
Do you care? Do you go, oh man, that guy made so much in NIL, I don't want to watch that guy? Or are you just there to watch your team play?
Let me answer on behalf of the people. I feel qualified because I don't know. I am one of the people. I am one of the masses.
That's usually my place, but okay. You go ahead.
I speak for the people. Or at least I recognize the reality of the people. No, they don't care. Do you think that Willie B is not going to be packed for opening day? Do you think the Tiger faithful are not going to pack out Death Valley? Florida State got screwed last year. Do you think Doak Campbell's not going to be rocking week 1 next year with the optimism of the direction of that program? Hell, the Gators still pull 100K in, and they ain't been good in a decade.
Wait a minute. They do that at Florida?
They sure do.
Wow.
Well, every year, one of the toughest places to play, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. I've been there many times. Phenomenal place to watch a football game. The point here is, no, this is why this is so interesting. To me, there are a lot of people who are happy to send text and about it. But when football season rolls around, it's just like it was when Cap took a knee. It's just like it was when they wrote BLM on the NBA courts. Everybody said, that's it. It's too far gone. I'm out. And yet, the viewership numbers and the attendance keeps going up every year. No. I think that's the other part of this for me. The only people that I have seen take actual steps in response to all of this are football coaches, are Saban, are Chip Kelly. In fact, just so we're clear, I don't think Chip Kelly left UCLA to go to Ohio State because of NIL and the transfer portal. I think Chip Kelly left UCLA to go to Ohio State because he thought, oh, I'm back in the Big 12. Everything's going to be amazing. And then he ended up back in the Big 10 and his team sucked.
No. He went to Ohio State because he thinks he's coaching waiting. That's the only reason why he went. Because all my joking aside, Ryan Day loses to Michigan this year. He is gone. There is no way they keep him. And then you got Chip Kelly with all the experience that he's had, especially if he innovates the offense further than what it's already is. I'm just saying.
Ask this question before. Ask it one more time, then we'll run to a break because Rashad Beard is in the waiting room for us. We got him coming up next to talk Panther football. Jim Harbaugh is gone. If Ryan Day loses to Michigan next year, but he's 11-1 and he's in the college football playoff, and let's say you make it to the semifinal or the final. If he is 15-1, but the only L is Michigan, if he loses to Michigan, is the only way to save his job by winning the national championship after that?
No, that's not going to save his job.
Wait. If he loses to Michigan, but then he wins the national championship,
does he beat Michigan in the national championship game?
No, let's say no for the sake of discussion.
Then no.
You are telling me if he loses to Michigan, but then wins the natty, that you would want him fired?
Ryan, let me talk to you. If you do that, and I was not quoting who you think I was quoting, now that I think about it. Yeah. Let me talk to you. Let me tell you this. Run, don't walk if you lose to Michigan, because there will be people chasing you out of there.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Oh, my God. This is why nobody likes Ohio State right here. This is the reason.
You know what? On behalf of Ohio State fans, who cares?
Yeah, we know.
I don't care if you like me or not.
We know.
I don't care.
We know.
I don't care. You can't beat me. So, I mean, whatever, unless you're Michigan, unfortunately, because they seem to be able to do that pretty easily. Not easily.
Look,
but
Rashad got up and walked away. That take was so silly. We got to take a break.
He was completely interested for a while. I saw it.
Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joins us to talk Carolina Panther football after a very eventful week. That's up next. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, quick live read, and then we're coming right back with Rashad. Y'all stay right there. Rashad, what's up, fella?
What's going on, guys?
How we doing, partner?
Good, good.
Glad to hear it.
I like Zoe's take, by the way.
What's that?
I like Zoe's take, by the way. Get him out of here, man.
Bro, come on. My man, you're telling me you lose to the rival, but you win the natty. You're letting go of the dude?
I like that energy.
Rashad, I need you to, whatever you did before the show, I need you to not do it before the show, bro. All right, save it.
I don't want to sound arrogant here, but you don't understand. And I mean, you don't get it. And you can't.
It's almost like a Duke Carolina thing, man. Same thing. You got to get those dubs.
I don't know. I don't know what to say to you people. I don't know what to say to you. You win the national the only prize that matters.
It's not the only one.
Bragging rights forever.
It's not the only one.
Bragging rights for the rivalry.
And when you've won many national championships, which Ohio State has, again, sounds arrogant, but it's the truth. That Michigan thing, I mean, they know a little bit about it around here with Carolina and Clemson. You pass that on to your kids. You hate that team.
Come on, Rob, pick a side, man.
Rashad agrees with Lonzo, and I don't know what the hell to do to. I don't know what to do. What do I say to you?
I would call that Thursday.
What do I say to you? Oh, God. Welcome back to Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, on the website, thefanupstate.com, around the world on the Odyssey app. And, of course, don't forget to stream the show on YouTube at The Rob Brown Show, same on Twitch. And, of course, you can get at us on wherever you want to stream. Just search the show. You'll find it. Rashad Beard is one half of the host of the Panther Nation podcast. If you are a Panther fan and you want to talk Panther football, nowhere better to go than the Panther Nation podcast. What's up, big dog?
What's going on, man? Like you were saying, very eventful week. A lot to talk about, man. Let's get to it.
A lot to get to. The least surprising of which, Rashad Beard, was the tagging of Brian Burns. Even less surprising to me was that y'all went with the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means that he can go out there and talk to other teams. Should a team make an offer sheet, Carolina gets the opportunity to either match it or to go get 2 first-round draft picks in return for that offer sheet. I think this is the best way to handle it because either A, Brian Burns is going to learn that his market value is not what he thinks that it is, and maybe it makes it easier to sign him next year, or his market value is what he thinks that he is, and you guys get some draft picks back. This, to me, was probably the only way for Carolina to handle this.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. This is the only way that the Carolina Panthers can handle this situation without letting him walk essentially for nothing. And that's not acceptable. You can't let a franchise player like Brian Burns walk without nothing in return. It already sucks that he has to leave, right? But you want to at least get something in return if he has to go. So I agree that it is the only way we could have handled this. I do think this is a situation where the Panthers are saying, hey, Brian, like we love you. We made an offer for you, and that's what we think you're worth. If you think you're worth more than that, hey, go test the market. Go see what it is. And if you come back with it, hey, we'll see what we can do. But if not, then we'll try to get something else done here. I think both sides want each other. I think Brian Burns wants to be here long term, and I think the Carolina Panthers want him, but they don't want to overspend, which is the right thing to do. Like, you have to be careful. There's a new regime, right? You can't just, Brant Tillis, Dan Morgan have to lay the law down as far as what they're going to do and what they're going to pay. And you can't just say, all right, Brian, you name your price and we're going to pay it. That sets a precedent. So I understand them kind of putting their foot down. And if they're going to get a deal done, I hope it gets done. That $24 million cap hit that he's accounted for right now is a lot of money. Free agency opens up next week, and we have to there's not much we can do with the $24 million Brian Burns cap hit. So hopefully they get something done sooner rather than later. I don't want to see this drag out because I do think Brian Burns could eventually hold out, but I don't know. I think as of right now, this is one step, and I think it's the right step for the Carolina Panthers to do.
I think that fans are particularly vulnerable to this, Rashad. We sometimes forget because we are fans, which comes with fanaticism, with passion, etc. Dude, it's a business at the end of the day. And the football players, even the ones that we know and that we love, are employees at the end of the day. And the goal is money making at the end of the day, not winning Super Bowls. It's to win money. Am I right, Davis family? I think that this is basically the way for Carolina to say, we're going to find your market value. And either you're going to be right, and it's going to be what you think it is, and we're going to be compensated for it, or we're going to be right, you're going to find out you were wrong, and we're going to be compensated for it. The only true statement is that no matter which of those two options it turns out to be, both parties, even if Brian Burns wants to be a Panther, and even if the Panthers want Brian Burns to be there, even if they go their separate ways, even though it might sting emotionally, both parties come out better for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing that is true here is the market is the market. The market is what somebody's willing to pay you, and if somebody is going to be out there and they're willing to pay a Brian Burns $30 million or whatever, then it is what it is. Then so be it. But the Panthers, again, they have a little bit of leverage. At the end of the day, Brian Burns has the bulk of the leverage because he could kind of drag this out. And it could go way into week one and he could hold out. So it's a big chess match going on between the two parties. And I'm just hopeful that somebody will end up, like you said, either he goes out there and somebody says, all right, we're going to pay you XYZ. We get the picks in return. One thing of note is that we can negotiate a smaller price tag, right? It doesn't have to be the 2 first-round picks. There have been guys traded for less than 2 first-round picks if we can agree to that. That's something that is an option. And I do think if someone is just going to say, hey, we'll give you a first-round pick and maybe a couple of day twos or a day 2 pick, I do think the Panthers could entertain that as well. So I just want to make sure that that's clear as well. We've seen people, traded for less than the 2 first-round picks. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting in the next couple of days to see what happens. But like you said, I think it's going to be a win-win for both parties when something does get done.
Rashad Beer with the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Hayden Hurst going to get the axe when the League New Year starts up here in just a bit over a week. Not a big shock, even though he doesn't come with the biggest contract on the team, Rashad. I think, unfortunately, as much as I wanted him to work out, in fact, I said last year going in, I thought Hayden Hurst was going to be a game-changing free agency pickup for Carolina. A rookie quarterback, a green quarterback's best friend, should be a pass-catching tight end, but he just never really kind of took that next step. And then you add on the injury concerns after he had that bout with amnesia because of the hit he took to the noggin. As much as I hate it, as much as I wanted the guy to work out, once again, business decision, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely business decision, because if you look at it from a cap perspective, it wasn't much cap savings. This is just a matter, and this is what's interesting about when you take a look at these cuts. It's not about the money savings. It's about getting the right personnel in here, and that's the approach that I like. That's the approach that I'm seeing so far. I don't think this is going to be the last interesting cut that happens. I think the Panthers are really going to take a deep dive into this roster and say, all right, where can we get better? Because it's not just about having guys. We think Hurst is solid. I think Hurst is a solid player, but does he fit what Canales wants at the tight end position? I think there's going to be a bigger emphasis on the tight end position with the Carolina Panthers. Canales does a great job with tight ends, and one to keep an eye on is Noah Fant. Noah Fant from Seattle. They do have a connection with Canales, and so that's one to keep an eye on. They're going to look to upgrade that role. And I think Hayden Hurst is just a casualty of that. And I do want to say, I hope Hayden Hurst is healthy, right? He had a scary injury last year. He had the amnesia, like you said. And so I hope he's doing okay. And if he needs to retire, so be it. But, safety first. So I hope he's okay. And I wish him the best of luck. Thank you, Hayden Hurst.
Yep, that's it, man. I hate it. I don't like it. I wanted to see him succeed. But at the end of the day, it's a business. Speaking of Dave Canellis, Rashad Beard, he was at the Combine, had a quick little offside interview with a couple of media members. I think Sheena Quick was there asking some questions, did a great job. He said, look, there's no long-term plan to fix Bryce Young because Bryce Young ain't broken. The fix that needs to get made is to tailor the offense to him, to bring out his strengths and to let him shine, as opposed to ask him to change his game plan to fit into the offense. I know it was a lot of coach speak. I know it was a lot of kind of same old cliche stuff, but it's also what I needed to hear, right? Like, yes, I need you to come in and I need you to make the offense about Bryce Young, not the other way around. And before anybody gets up in arms, that's the NFL now, dude. Every offense gets tailored around the quarterback, not the other way around. What did you think about Canellis' short interview at the Combine about BY?
Yeah, I mean, Canellis is doing a great job. Anytime he gets in front of a mic, he's saying the right things for the most part. So I like what he said. I don't think there's anything majorly wrong with Bryce Young. I just think that he had a lack of weapons. He had a lack of protection. There's a lot of things you can get to before you get to Bryce Young being the issue. Yes, he has his faults. No, he's not perfect. But I think if you upgrade everything around him, and this is what we've been saying, this whole offseason, and we love Brian Burns, we love some of these guys, but it's about protecting Bryce Young, and it's about putting Bryce Young in the best position to succeed. And if it's, for the sake of losing a Brian Burns, then so be it. It's all about getting, Bryce Young in the best position to succeed. And I think that that's what's going to happen, and getting the offense tailored around him, the quick passes, making sure he's getting rid of the ball accurately. I think that's what it's all about. And so, yes, he's saying the right things, and it's all about action. Again, I like what he's saying, but a lot has been said to Carolina Panther fans the past couple of years, the past 6 years to be specific. It's about action. We want to see it on the field. We want to see what you're saying in action. Now, hopefully we see that in OTAs and training camp coming up.
I want to throw this out. We were talking about the Combine and about Dave Canellis, and I pointed out on Monday that with the comments that Dan Morgan's been making, it is the first time, at least since I moved here, Rashad, that it feels like you have a unified front office. It feels like you have a GM and head coach that are on the same page, versus when Fitterer was there and you had people calling out snitches get stitches about different coaching staff members. It felt like everybody was not even on the same page. They were in different damn books in different damn bookstores. And while we were having this thought, and I want your thoughts on that, Lonzo asked me a question. He said, where's Tepper in all this? What's Tepper been saying? And I came to the realization, I have not heard nor read a word from David Tepper since Dave Canellis got there. You a couple of weeks ago said, Rashad, that you thought that Dave Tepper's comments at the introductory press conference where he said, yo, I'm not part of this, this is not my show right now, were almost sarcastic towards the media. A, what have you heard from Dave Tepper since then? And B, are you maybe reconsidering that? Is there a chance maybe Tep has taken the step back you asked him to via incredible t-shirts last year?
Yeah, it's soon, right? It's a very, very early to make that determination, but it has been quiet. It has been quiet for David Tepper, and that's what we want to see. Now, come OTAs, come practices, will we see him on that golf cart riding out the practices, hovering, right? Will we start to see that? And I don't know. But all signs are pointing to him stepping back, which is what we wanted. But again, it's soon. Will he be in the draft room, right? We saw him in the third seat. You got the head coach, you got the GM, and David Tepper was right there. Will he be in the draft room saying, once the camp confidential comes out, draft confidential comes out, will he be right there saying, oh, this is what I think about it? I don't know. We'll see. It's too soon. Again, I'm interested too. I want to know what he's thinking about with this whole Brian Burns situation. You know what I mean? Because I think he probably likes Brian Burns as well, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen him. So I think it's a very interesting conundrum. I hope not to hear from him. I hope that, he does take the step back and he heard what we said. But I do agree with what you said earlier, in that Canellis and Morgan seem to be on the same page. And it's a unified front. They seem to be heading in the right direction. It's early. It's very early, but all signs point to us moving in the right direction. And I like it. I'm here for it.
That was my thought. I used some dumb analogy about how, if you got an army, they all got to be marching in the same direction or else it ain't going to work. And I felt like for the 4 years now that I have been here, and for the, I think 2 we've been talking to each other, Rashad, there's never been a point I've been able to say that before, that I truly felt the GM and the HC were on the same page. And again, It's easy to put up a facade right now. It's smokescreen season across the NFL. This is the point in time where everybody's doing their darndest to not give away anything, any of the conversations happening in the front room. But, you know, you heard Dan Morgan use that. We got to find dudes who are dogs who want to be here. And what do you hear Canella say at the combine? He said, look, the good news about being the new guy is I don't have emotional connections to anybody on this team. I can objectively look at this team, and if I look at the tape and I think somebody's not busting it, or I think somebody's not living up to their hype or doing their job, I can cut them, and it doesn't hurt me none. I haven't built that connection yet. Man, it just sounded like it fell in line.
Yeah, and I think it goes with their actions too, right? Their actions are speaking. Look at the whole Brian Burns situation, right? They're not just when you hear Dan Morgan talking about, you know, the guys on the team, we gotta re-sign Frankie Louvu. We got to re-sign Derrick Brown. Those guys got the dog. But then you hear him not speaking as highly about Brian Burns. Those things are, you know, starting to align, right? And so when you see us not jumping at the bit to re-sign Brian Burns, they're speaking with their actions, right? Their actions are definitely backing what they're saying up. So I like it. I like what they're going. They're in the right direction. And hopefully we'll see. It's very early, though. It is very early. You know, when the rubber hits the road, we'll see if they keep that same energy, or will they kind of say, all right, we gotta get these guys around. We got to keep the same guys. We'll see. I'm interested, just like you are. It's going to be very interesting to see the next couple of weeks.
Rashad Beard, Panther Nation podcast, joins us every Thursday at this time on the Rob Brown Show to talk Panther football. Keeping an eye on the free agency period. Now, of course, we got 9 tags handed out across the league. A couple of receivers, including Marvin Harrison Jr. and T. Higgins, both caught a tag that obviously diminishes an already weak free agency market. We talked a little bit about this last week before the tags got finalized, Rashad, and I think I'm even more bunkered down in the thought that you're going to have to address wide receivers in free agency, and frankly, in the draft and the offensive line in free agency. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because to me, if I got to pick one of those two groups to be a group of veteran guys, I'd rather it be the offensive line in front of Bryce. And if I got to pick one of those two groups to be young guys, I'd rather it be wide receivers that can grow and develop that chemistry organically along with Bryce. I'm solidified. This team needs to be looking OL across free agency right now. Where do you kind of stand on that after the tags got handed out?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. I definitely think they're going to go veteran offensive lineman. That helps Bryce Young. Again, that's a reoccurring theme that we've been saying for weeks. Whatever it takes to get Bryce Young healthy and upright and making good decisions, that's what they're going to do. And I think they're going to spend some of that free agency money on a veteran interior offensive lineman. Again, if you kind of listen to what they're saying, you know, they're going to keep Icky at left tackle. We firmly believe that Moton, and there's some rumblings about his contract, but I believe Moton is a forever Panther. He's very reliable. So I think Moton's going to be around for a while. Those bookends are there. Now, what happens on the interior, we got to shuffle. There's been some smoke about Bradley Bozeman potentially getting shifted or moved around because of the scheme change. So we'll see what happens there. But I agree, interior offensive line in free agency, and then drafting a wide receiver. If you take a look at the combine meetings for the Carolina Panthers, we interviewed seven wide receivers, and they all seem to fit in that range of late first round to about third round. So I believe you're going to see the Panthers take a wide receiver with that second or third round pick. There's a lot of this wide receiver class is extremely deep. You're going to be able to find a talented wide receiver somewhere. And I agree with what you're saying is that, I think drafting a wide receiver and him building that chemistry with Bryce Young from the jump is very, very important. So we've got some veteran guys. Adam Thielen's is still around. Hopefully he stays around. You got Mingo, who's still developing. And who knows what's going to happen with Terrace Marshall, but you've got some talent there, wide receiver. I think you can add a more talented wide receiver, a guy like a Keon Coleman, a guy like a Xavier Leggett. If you get one of those guys in the building that could potentially come in and develop into wide receiver one, you got something brewing here. I think that's what they're going to do.
Rashad Beard, host the Panther Nation podcast, joins us every Thursday. Welcome to the PNP Army, who, by the way, I mentioned the shirt. What do you know? The link goes up to go get one of the step back shirts. Hopefully, Rashad, I've never said this before. Hopefully, y'all don't sell a damn shirt next year because they worked this time around. All right. I hope there's not a ton of inventory laying around, man.
Yeah, no, I hope we don't have to hear much from Tepper, and I think he heard us. So we'll see.
Yes, we will. Rashad Beard joins us every Thursday at 8:20 to talk Panther football. You can follow them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, go to their YouTube channel, Panther Nation Podcast. Make sure you're liked up and subscribe. My guy, appreciate you, big dog. See you next week.
Absolutely. Let's get it.
You got it. Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation Podcast. We step away. We come back. We finish up hour number 3. We got Fight Club talking a little pro wrestling, boxing, and MMA coming up in the next hour. A little more football. Maybe I'll throw some more shade at Nick Saban. We'll see how it goes. The Rob Brown Show carries on after this. It is the Fan Upstate.
Smith.
All right, guys, got to step away for one more live read, and we'll come right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, y'all, we're back. I'm back. Lonzo will be back in just mere moments from now. Those of you ever hear from the Panther Nation, go find the Rob Brown Show on YouTube. Click that like button, click that subscribe button. We are on every weekday from 6 until 10 a.m. Get your morning started with us. We talk a lot of Panther football, a lot of Clemson, a lot of Carolina Gamecocks, a little bit of Hurricanes, a little bit of Hawks, a little bit of Hornets, a little bit of everything, man.
It was up close to 400, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. God, that elbow looks so nasty, dude.
It does. And he's sitting there and he knows he's done and he just tells him do it. And it's
so nasty looking.
See, I didn't see the match with Ospreay and from pay-per-view.
If you watch it, like,
And
it's interesting how he takes it, because right as it hits, he throws his head back into the right, so it goes over, but it still looks brutal.
There was a time in the match where he was getting ready to hit that on Fletcher.
Yep.
His back is completely turned, and he goes to hit him, and he ducks right at the right time. I mean, it was beautiful. Takeshita is who I was thinking of. I didn't see the Ospreay Takeshita match, but I heard it was really, really good. I wonder how this ranks against
The
them.
Ospreay Takeshita match. I've seen that one, but this one was match of the year for me. It's March. If this one was a match of the year candidate for you, then it's on par with it.
Again, this is the best match I've ever seen in AEW. And I at least watch all the Dynamites. Got to admit, I record Collision, rarely watch it, rarely watch Rampage. But those two guys right there could not exist in WWE because they would have to bring. I mean, a lot of their arsenal would be gone.
Yep.
And it would neuter them to a degree.
Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
Listen on the Odyssey app.
Good morning. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob and the Great One Lonzo with you. Coming up in the next hour of the show, got a couple of things I want to get to. We have got to still get to this Cade Klubnik interview that he did. He gave 3 reasons that he believes that Clemson will be back to being Clemson next year. We're going to talk about that before you make a handoff joke, Lonzo.
Why you take that from me? I was going to say, number 1, handoff. Number 2, handoff. Number 3, handoff.
We're going to hear what Cade Klubnik had to say coming up next. I also want to explain. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do that here because I got asked not once but twice yesterday, what is dead money? How does dead money work? Russell Wilson had $85 million dead money charge for cutting the quarterback. That's what the Denver Broncos are facing. They take that dead money cap because they cut him before he even started the 5-year extension that he signed in 2022. That extension was going to kick in at the conclusion of the season, but because he was cut, obviously, that's not going to happen. So that extension price becomes dead money for them. A dead money charge is a charge on an NFL team's salary cap for a player who is no longer on the roster. And there's some things that can go into that figure. It represents remaining signing bonus proration that was not accounted for prior to the player's release or trade. It is not a cash payment per se, but it is a cap charge. It's basically a subtraction from your cap money resulting from the rule that allows teams to prorate a signing bonus evenly over as many as 5 years. So if a player is released prior to the end of those 5 years, all remaining bonus proration accelerates onto the team's salary cap for the current year. So basically, when they signed the extension with Russell Wilson, they were going to give him an $85 million signing bonus. The signing bonus, of course, one reason to convince, or one way to convince a player to sign a contract or an extension is, hey, on top of the salary that you and we agreed to, we'll also toss a bunch of money onto the top of it. Now, there are other ways that teams can use signing bonuses. Some of them use it as a way to pay a guy without putting it directly towards their cap figure. So if you are a team that is in salary cap hell and you want to sign a guy back, but you maybe don't want to have $1 billion in cap money go against his contract, you can say, all right, we're going to give you a 10, 12, $15 million signing bonus. And there have been folks that have said, well, why not just pay the guy via signing bonus, right? Like, why not sign everybody to a $1 million contract and just have $1 billion in signing bonuses? This is your answer. Because if you sign a guy to a signing bonus and then he ends up for whatever reason not on the roster, your signing bonus goes against your cap. And that is how you prevent teams. So whenever you see a team, New Orleans has been notorious about this for years. Mickey Loomis, their general manager, has constantly wrapped up contract money into signing bonuses. And that's how they make sure guys are getting the cash that you need to give them to keep them on your team, while also getting yourself out of a bad salary cap position. But again, it comes with a bit of a risk. Russell Wilson is accountable for $80.5 million worth of dead cap money. The next highest dead cap money charge of all time, Matt Ryan in 2022, when he was released by Atlanta, was owed $40.5 million. Aaron Rodgers, when he was let go from Green Bay, went to the tune of $40.3 million in dead money. Tom Brady, when he retired from the Bucs, and again, this is part of the risk, because if they're off the roster for whatever reason, you get that dead cap money. When Tom Brady stepped away and retired, the Bucs had put $35.1 million of signing bonus money towards Tom Brady. Tampa Bay went in the whole $35.1 million because Tom Brady decided that he was done playing football. So this is why teams are not going to just go, we want to offer you, Brian Burns, $30 million a year. So we're going to give you a $1 million a year contract and give you a $30 million signing bonus, because if he plays that 1 year and you can't re-sign him, you're still on the hook for $30 million against your cap. And that can be real bad. Texter said, Rob, is it Canales or Canellis? It is Canales. Canales. I have heard a lot of people pronounce it Canellis. I will also acknowledge that if I'm talking real fast, I have slipped and said Canellis a couple of times, but it is Dave Canales.
And there's a Canellis in wrestling, and that probably jumps into your mind a little bit.
So, Texas says, Rob, you forgot that, where'd it go? Rob, you forgot that Rashad is on the haterade.
They like to drink their haterade and eat their hater tots.
Also rooting against McCaffrey in the Super Bowl. Oh, no, I didn't forget. I've called him out multiple times on Twitter since then. All right. My man was not just drinking the haterade. He was mixing the haterade. He was distributing the haterade.
Rashad and I, one mind, one accord, almost every Thursday.
I can't believe I physically cannot stomach the two of you right now.
Well, maybe you need to leave the room.
Lonzo, you don't know how many people want me to. Lonzo said, if Ryan Day loses to Michigan, but then wins the national freaking championship in what is going to be, I think, easily the most difficult year ever to do it, that he would still fire Ryan Day.
By the way, Ohio State's guaranteed a playoff spot every year.
Guaranteed.
Yes, because of the things that you've talked about this week. 1 and 2 is getting in. Now 3 is getting in. The worst.
Not yet.
Yeah, but the worst that they have finished was a 3rd place in 2011. I mean, they finished worse a couple times, but historically, in the history, that's what that means, of Ohio State, they finished top 3 every single year.
Yes, but now you have Oregon and USC and
Doesn't matter.
UCLA.
Doesn't matter.
Now you got over half the Pac-12 coming to play.
Guaranteed a playoff spot.
Okay.
And if you're guaranteed a playoff spot, that game means even more.
You know what I guarantee? I guarantee that Lonzo's going to nail this sports flash.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good guarantee. We'll take a bet on that. The South Carolina men's basketball team's bid for an SEC regular season title came to an end at the hand of the cursed Tennessee Volunteers last night with a 66-59 loss. Rocky Top is a curse, it is. The Gamecocks shot only 10 free throws and made only 5 and shot 8 of 29 from the floor and had only 11 assists on the night. Tennessee claimed the regular season conference crown with the win. Took extra time and penalty kicks, but the United States women's national team found their way through to the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup finals with a 2-2 draw and a 3-2 PK winner. Heavy rains and pooling water slowed the pace of play down, but the U.S. pulled it out. All right, tune in Saturday night at 8 p.m. as the Furman men's basketball team takes on Western Carolina in the first round of the Southern Conference tournament right here on your home for Paladins football and basketball, the Fan Upstate. So those little extra ad-libs that get me, Steven. But in the contest of getting things in within the bed, it was not a stellar day for me. Yeah, I did. Well, yeah, it's not the first or last time I will do that. No, James, I don't know that Penn State does because of what Rob talked about, the fact that you got those Pac-12 teams coming in. They might knock Penn State down further. And if someone puts a label on you or a stigma on you or something about your fandom of a team, do you eventually just lean into it because they think that about you anyway? I'm starting to feel like I'm probably going to start doing that. I thought I had grown out of that sort of thing, but I can get back into it if I need to. Penn State's won some big games. They beat Ohio State before. They beat Michigan before. But I guess it never went beyond that, though. Did they win a national championship? For some reason, I think they did at some point under Paterno. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, apparently they won in 1986 when I was a senior in high school because I'm old. It was more than decades. It was 1986. It was almost it was 48 years. That's a long time. Was it 48? Maybe I can't count because that doesn't sound right.
I'm genuinely concerned. Not even being sarcastic.
What, smells?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sounds.
Oh, okay.
Heavy, deep breathing with the not occasional but very frequent.
Maybe you should have offered a suggestion about probiotics.
Bro, have some fiber, my guy.
Or some Metamucil.
Try some fiber, for God's sake.
Get some Dukalax. Doesn't make you go. It makes it easier for you to go. I like the Pappy version of that commercial best. You might hear it someday. Who knows? Something to bite down on? I don't know.
Bro, I don't know what to tell that guy. And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 4, the final hour of the Rob Brown radio program starts right now. Renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas. Fan phones open 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. Text line 71307. Start your text with FAN, 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 FAN. We'll read them on the air. And you may shoot us a TweetX post at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, or hit us all up at The Fan Upstate. Cade Klubnik sat down with the media not too terribly long ago and was asked, hey, Cade, how do you think that you are going to be able to help Clemson be better next year? And Cade gave 3 primary reasons that he believes this Los Tigres team will be better next year. He said reason number 1 he believes this team is going to be better is that Clemson lacked big plays last year. They averaged less than 5 yards per play. That was tied for 97th best in FBS last year. 97th best in the game. And so he said, first off,
hey, you know what, Rob? That's not very good.
I mean, it's 97th best, as a matter of fact. He pointed out that last year, Clemson had injuries at wide receiver, and they did. Troy Stiletto missed time. Bo Collins missed time. Antonio Williams missed time. Tyler Brown, a guy that is expected to have a much expanded role this year for Clemson, is already missing time. Entering spring practice, he's recovering from offseason foot surgery. Noble Johnson out due to an injury suffered in a car accident. Cape said it's nobody's fault. It's just kind of the way the cards are dealt sometimes. Just having everybody is going to be real good for us. He said, what's it like now having your full complement, with a couple of exceptions, but mostly having your full complement of guys? Cade Klubnik said, quote, it's really, really fun. You step up there and you got some dudes, some freaking dudes, and that's exciting. It's exciting for me, obviously, just because I got matchups everywhere. First off, I need you to know some freaking dudes is the perfect way for a quarterback to talk.
Yeah. But Cade, are you a freaking dude?
He's a freaking dude, man.
Is he though?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
I mean, because that's what needs to happen. He needs to be one.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because the second thing that Cade Klubnik specifically mentioned is a reason he thinks this team is going to be better and not ranked 97th in yards per play this year is him. Cade was asked about his growth during the past season. He was asked about his maturity as a freaking dude since last year. He said, quote, my post-snap recognition is going to get better with decision-making, when to come off of stuff, and when I can truly attack things a little bit stronger, being a little bit more aggressive in my decisions because I've just been in the system now for a little bit, end quote. That was absolutely a question mark. It was a question mark about DJ Uiagalelei before he left. It was a question mark about Cade Klubnik last year. Was the sometimes over-aggression to the point of almost trying to force things for one Cade Klubnik. That was absolutely a concern that a lot of people had last year. Is this dude going to be able to process the information, utilize the information, and get it right? And the answer, according to Cade Klubnik, is, yeah, I will be. Don't you worry about that. And you frankly, you got to hope so. Because if he can't and if he doesn't, it's going to be another long year, without a doubt. Third thing that he brought up, he said the communication between the coaches and the players, specifically him, is better this year. We know that the NCAA is talking about experimenting with moving towards allowing coach-to-player direct communication through helmet communication devices. Depending on approval by the NCAA's Playing Rules Oversight Panel in an April 18th meeting that is currently on the books. If that is approved, if that is passed, then guys like Garrett Riley will be able to directly communicate with guys like Cade Klubnik. And if they are able to do so, you have got to imagine it's going to get a lot easier for him to, play quarterback. Now, Klubnik said that he and Riley have never used the system before, either one of them, but said they have been using it during the early spring practices. Klubnik said, quote, "We started doing that the first practice. It can be really good for tempo in our offense, especially. It's kind of perfect for our offense." And I think it probably very is. I think it is. I think one of the big question marks that has been asked about this team, about every team really, is how this is going to fit into what offenses can want to try to do. And my thought on this one has got to be, it's going to help everybody to be able to just get the play and not have to rely on signals and not have to worry about, is there going to be miscommunication or anything else? To have a quarterback that's just able to look at the sideline and go, oh, what's that? You want that run dive ISO to Phil Maffa? I got it. To have Dabo or Riley or whoever be able to get into Cade Klubnik's ear and go, hey, man, listen, the last two plays, the safety has been bailing out to cover one to go down the middle of the field. So what we're going to do on this next one is run a vert up the middle to make sure he does it again. And I want you to throw the outside shoulder pass to the right or whatever. That is going to be an immense help for a young guy like Cade Klubnik, even with a year of experience in the back pocket. For a dude that is looking to elevate the offense to the next level, that's going to be big time. That's going to be big time. So Cade Klubnik says this team is healthy now, and he believes that because this team is going to be healthy now, that this team is going to see themselves play a different level next year. He says that he has already matured greatly as a starting quarterback. And you got to hope so. Again, you're in the back pocket. You better have learned something. If you didn't, if Cade Klubnik comes out, here's one of the few things that I would say about the tenure of Dabo Swinney. If Cade Klubnik comes out next year and looks like the same guy, then at that point, I think it'll be fair to start asking questions about if it's time for Clemson to move in a different direction.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, if you take two of the best quarterbacks of all time out of the equation for Clemson, Cade is kind of what they usually would have there. And I know recent memory, and for people is like, oh, well, national championship caliber, everything. That was never the norm for Clemson till the last decade or so. And you're not going to find a Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence every single year. You're just not. Is Cade Klubnik good? Yes. Could he be great? Possibly. We've seen other guys move on from the program. Some have done well and some have not done well. I don't know this necessarily the program. I think it's expectations are such that you believe that that guy is going to walk through the door every time you need a new quarterback, and it's not happening right now.
The expectations obviously are very high. The expectations are high on the program. The expectations are high on Cade Klubnik, and frankly, they ought to be. You had a lot of success for a very long time. You can't just expect them to go away like that. So yes, the expectations are going to be very high. But now you've got a year in the back pocket. And it's not just about Cade. There's a lot of moving parts from last year. You have a new offensive coordinator. You have a new second-year defensive coordinator. You have, I think, and this is the other thing that we got to keep an eye on, a head coach who is concerned and cautious about utilizing the transfer portal. Whereas teams like Florida State are living in the transfer portal. So you got to wonder if that tune is going to be changed. And as far as the maturity of one Cade Klubnik, again, I just need you to do enough. I do wonder, you bring up that thing about the quarterbacks, and you're obviously spot on accurate with it, Zoe, but I also wonder, for a guy like Cade Klubnik, is there because of the history of quarterbacks there, is there a possibility that a guy like Cade, especially in his first year as the starter, tries to do too much because he's trying to live up to that? And if so, did he learn last year, that ain't my bag yet? You have to grow into that. Most guys don't just show up and do that. You got to grow into that. And if so, is that part of that maturity process? Is that part of the maturity process, is learning that, guys like Trevor were guys like Trevor, not because they just were that, but because they grew into it.
No, Deshaun and Trevor were that.
They just were that.
They were that when they walked in. And after Deshaun, I think a lot of fans thought there's no way that anyone could be better. And along comes Sunshine. So, I mean, well, that's what he's called.
Sunshine. All right. So that's what Cade Klubnik had to say. Your thoughts are welcome. 71307. Start your text with FAN. 844-326-3663. That's the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone.
Something just dropped that that might cancel out the entire Fight Club. In Fight Club. I mean, something that you'll want to talk about for like the entire rest of the show, possibly.
You little weirdo.
Oh no. This is a thing I can't wait to talk about.
My loins have been tingling.
They will be. They absolutely will be.
Well, won't you stick around and find out what that thing is? I wait with bated breath, because up next, it's Fight Club with the great one. We got UFC.
Oh, you're going to be so happy.
We got
you
MMA.
are going to be so happy.
We got boxing, and we got whatever the hell Lonzo's about to tell us about. It's coming up next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Well, now I'm just going to stay off Twitter for the break.
Oh, go ahead. You might see it. You might not. I just was like, what? No, huh? Cool. It's one of those things I had to check many times to make sure it was real. I got time. No better time right now.
All right, guys, stepping away for 45 seconds. Bear with me. All right, y'all, we are back.
Way to go, James. Back to the Will Proctor, Cullen Harper days. You can even throw in
a long time.
You can throw in Taj Boyd. Taj Boyd was good on the edge of great.
Kelly Bryant disrespect out here.
Who?
On these streets.
Who?
Damn you, Hootie. Broke my heart.
What, when he got arrested?
No, I don't care about that.
You should.
I don't.
Breaking the law is bad, kids, no matter what Rob says.
Fight
Don't
the man.
Don't do that. No, don't do
Fight
that.
the man, kids.
Don't do that.
Light things on fire.
Dude, come on. Come on. Don't no. You got time to recant. You should. Do not look at what Diddy just sent you.
Okay.
Do not no.
I mean it's black screen, so I can't see it till I open it. Did he spoiler it?
Yes. Do not look at it.
Okay, I'm not.
Yes, he did, Wesley. He absolutely did. And if you got those weapons, even Bryce Young would look good. All right, it's funny that what's not funny if you're the opponent of Mike Tyson, hearing Mike Tyson in that clip. Can I ask you something, Rob? Do you know, does Jake Paul have children?
Is he fighting Mike Tyson?
Why don't you answer the question? Does he have children?
Is Mike Tyson going to eat his children? I don't know. I don't know.
Yes. According to things hitting the internet right now, Saturday, July 20th, live on Netflix, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
What I want to say is,
light him up, light his ass up,
Mike. And what I hope happen is, if you have followed the post-retirement trajectory of the life of Iron Mike Tyson, what you will see is that courtesy of some chemical assistance, Mike Tyson has chilled out a lot. But every now and then...
Have you seen his training?
Oh, he's still a bad son of a you-know-what. But every now and then, Mike says something on a podcast that you just hear that record scratch of like, oh, Mike's still in there. To me, none of these fights are legitimate fights. Once we learned about the no knockout clause, all of this stuff stopped.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Mike may sign that. You think he's sticking to that?
Let me finish where I'm going.
Your lack of emotion bothers me. I'm excited about
My
this.
lack of emotion is my emotion.
I would think you would be excited
Let
about this.
me walk you to where I am. Let me take you by the hand and walk you to where I am. Once we learned about the no knockout clause in the Mayweather-Paul fight from a couple of years back, or a year ago, whatever it was. I don't even remember. I've bleached it from my memory. It just put on a skyscraper-sized advertisement that these fights aren't fights, that these fights are television shows. Okay. And yes, maybe it is I putting on the tricorn hat to become the czar of idealism here. But when I was a boxing fan,
Hey, man, you can't wear my hat.
when I was a boxing
It
fan
would cover your eyes.
and I followed guys like Roy and Mike, the guys that I grew up watching box, yeah, they were making a lot of money to do it, but they were trying to end each other. And now we have boxers signing fight contracts that say, don't hit me too hard, dog. Don't hit me that hard. So what I'm hoping here, although I'm not going to bank on it happening until it happens, is that Jake put a no knockout clause into the contract that he will or has already signed with Iron Mike Tyson, that Jake accidentally puts a little glove to skin on Mike's chin, maybe a little bit more violently than Iron Mike was expecting, and that switch flips for Mike. That maybe that last gummy that he popped down before he walked out wears off, and Mike flips back to, I will eat your children and literally bite your ear off, Mike. And he actually ends this clown once and for all.
Okay, so I don't know what Rob's doing over there, because he has begged for Jake Paul to fight a real boxer, and now he's fighting the ultimate boxer. Yeah, he's like 52 or something, but if you've seen his training,
57.
Doesn't matter.
He
Doesn't
is
matter.
fighting a damn near 60-year-old man.
Doesn't
and
matter.
That's
He's
no,
Mike
no.
Tyson.
No,
He's
no,
Mike
no.
Tyson. Here's the thing. Netflix is really trying to get into live events. Netflix is doing this. I do not believe for a second, with probably the biggest audience Netflix will have on anything ever, that it would be a no knockout clause. And if there was, here's the thing. Mike Tyson, even at 60, if he punches you hard enough in the gut, you're just going to quit. You don't have to be knocked out. If he hits one of those things that could probably put a hole in a brick wall into Jake Paul's gut, he's just going to quit. And it's going to be amazing. You're finally going to get what you want, and now you're not happy. You're one of those people that are never happy.
Yeah, no,
never happy.
Definitely what I asked for was, hey, look at me. I'm a legitimate boxer, to fight a 57-year-old man. That's what I thought is the perfect fight. The
Always
57-year-old
something.
man.
Why can't you be happy about
Fight
this?
somebody
Why
who
can't?
is currently an active professional fighter, not a 57-year-old man.
Who could probably beat a lot of the regular fighters.
Iron
probably
Mike is still a bro. I'm not gonna fight. He is a crazy S of a B. I'm not arguing, but he is 57 years old. You know how we would find out if Mike could fight and win over a boxer? Box him. Box him.
All right. All you non-boxing purists that weren't trained by Roy
Enjoy
Jones
your
out there,
TV show.
please text line 71307. Are you going to watch this? Because finally, I don't have to pay for it because I already got Netflix. So absolutely, I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to enjoy every second of it. And hopefully, Jake Paul gets hit so hard that he cries and he walks out of the ring, because that would be awesome. It would. It would definitely be awesome. I don't know what the undercard, I don't think has been announced yet, but this just dropped, and I think it's a big deal. Wesley says Jake Paul is a marketing genius, and it's annoying because he will never fight a relevant boxer, but he's going to make hundreds of millions. Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know how much Netflix has paid for this, but I don't know how to make Rob Brown happy. Says a lot of people.
Yes, you do.
Says a lot of people.
Fight a boxer. If you want to make
wait,
money on my sport, then do my sport.
You just said live on these airwaves that Mike Tyson is not a boxer.
He's a 57-year-old man.
Yes.
57.
Who could beat up me and you put together?
Texter said more like iron deficiency Mike these days. Listen, Mike's still jacked. Mike's still absolutely shredded. If you watch his YouTube workouts, that dude is doing things that, yes, 99% of society can't do. Hey, He's a 57-year-old guy. If you want me to take Jake Paul seriously as a boxer, which I'm willing to do for the record, very willing to do it, then go fight, and I don't know, top 50 ranked boxer in your weight class, not a bunch of former UFC guys, notably not boxers, and a 57-year-old man. Yes, you do know how to make it happy. Fight a relevant fight. Stop with the purse fights.
Not that it matters. It's the number one trending thing, in the world right now in sports, and probably will be overall here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. This is a big deal. Despite what Rob says, I do believe with nearly all my being that Rob will watch this because he doesn't have to pay for it. He already has Netflix, and he can do that thing where, well, that wasn't a good punch. That wasn't, he held back there. Now, if he was, because for this show and for this segment, he needs to watch it because he doesn't have to pay for it.
No, he doesn't. And here's why. Because in 2024, there is one thing that is not quite as important as the almighty dollar, but it's crept up on it quite a bit. And that is clicks, views, interactions. We, great one, are being told all the time, what are you guys doing to create more interaction? What are you doing to create more clicks, more views? It is the game we play. And if Rob Brown tunes into this
and
fight,
then we say, this is radio,
Netflix,
and we walk out of the room.
+1 view on Jake Paul's number, because here's the thing, and this is something you learn in this industry very, very early on, Paul Feinbaum. If someone listens to you so that they can look in that radio and they can go, that son of a, that still counts. ESPN doesn't look at Feinbaum's numbers and go, okay, he had 500,000 negative views and 500,000 positive views. They look and they go, he had 1 million views. Jake Paul is not having my Xbox register as being connected to his fight. You know what I'll watch? I'll watch if Mike loses his mind and puts Jake Paul into a coma by knocking his block off. You can't
watch that if you don't watch
the highlight.
Okay,
yes,
all right.
I'll watch it on some weirdo's YouTube clip when it's reversed and backwards and upside down so they don't get copyright striked for it. I'll watch that because I'd rather that guy get the view than this clown fighting a geriatric.
All right, so if you are a member of Rob Circle, and I know you guys listen, please have a Jake Paul fighting party and invite Rob.
I won't be
because then he'll go and he'll watch.
I won't be there.
And it's an assignment from this segment that you need to watch this match.
Fire me. Fire me. It's not happening.
Finally got what you wanted, and it's not enough.
No, I didn't get what I wanted.
You just ain't never satisfied.
How in the world do you think that me watching a guy fight a 60-year-old man is what I wanted? I don't ever want to see a 57-year-old man get punched in the face. I don't. Okay, there's a few.
Come on. Come on. You don't like old people, and I would classify 57 old for you. So there's probably quite a few you'd like to punch in the face.
Okay, there are, but this is not it. All right? Listen, if Jake Paul stops referring to himself as a boxer, I'm far more likely to be on board with this kind of stuff. But he's going to come out and
go, is he making a living
I'm a professional
boxing?
Boxer. Yes! What do you think he's getting? You think he's doing this for free?
Right. That's what I'm saying. So if you're making a living at something, then you are that something, right?
Screw this guy.
If you're turning tricks, you're a hoe. I mean, there's a lot. If you're boxing people and getting paid for it, you're a boxer. I mean, that's just how that works.
You want to convince me that you're a genuine, legitimate boxer. Then go climb. Here, I'll give you a name. Go climb into the ring with Martin Bacoli. The number 10 ranked heavyweight in the world.
You had to look it up.
Yes, I did.
You did. You know why? Because you don't know.
No.
If it's Tyson Fury or someone like that, you do know. But the boxing world is not popular right now. It's just not.
I don't disagree.
And the most popular boxer in the world is probably Jake Paul.
He's not a boxer. He's a celebrity who boxes.
Okay.
He's not a boxer.
I don't know why you're so angry.
Go fight a boxer, and then I'll call you a boxer.
I mean, can we get a blood pressure meter in here right now, please? Maybe
Texture
a
said,
massage or something.
Tyson is 57, and I'm a pretty in shape guy with boxing experience. I would run as fast and far as possible to get away from Mike Tyson. I am not saying that Mike Tyson isn't a certified badass.
Well, you've been disparaging from the beginning of the segment.
I'm not done. He is a certified grade A badass. I'm not saying he's not. What I'm saying is he's a 57-year-old guy fighting a, how old's Jake Paul?
I don't care. He's a boxer. Who cares what age?
I'm done. Let's talk about wrestling. I'm over this. This is dumb. This is stupid. It's dumb. A 27-year-old man fighting a 57-year-old man to convince the world he's a boxer. Go fight Zalay Zhang.
I'm say
if you want to prove you're a boxer.
Happens at Walmart all the time. And usually the old man, takes care of that kid, which is what's going to happen. Jake Paul is probably going to make the most money he's ever made. And he's going to get that booty whipped by Mike Tyson.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely, as all of his
If you're going to lose for the first time.
all of his other fights have, it's totally going to end with him. Yeah, no, it's not.
I don't know why,
I hope Mike snaps, and I hope he disconnects Jake's head from his body.
I could turn your mic down so you don't talk over me when I'm talking. I mean, I could do
Yeah,
that.
now it's a problem. It's a problem.
Well, because I got some control over here. I guess we're moving on, although it did take up quite a bit of time. And I will say, I'm definitely down to watch it because I don't have to pay for it. That always helps. All right, let us move on to what I believe is one of the biggest stories in all of wrestling that I haven't seen covered too much. Vince sold a ton more of his shares, and according to the people over things, Vince McMahon will never be back, and he is out and out for good. Do you believe it?
Yes, because you have hit the point that you can't take that risk. You have hit the point where the public is consensus against this guy. There is no world in which because now it's hit the point where if he was to come back and you were to go, oh, it's not that bad, you're canceled with him at this point because of how evil this guy has now been proven to be. No, he is cooked. He is done because WWE, when WWE was run by the guy could say, I don't give a damn what you want. And wrestling is so ingrained in the public eye that there's nothing you can do about it. TKO cares more about that. Now, that's not to say TKO doesn't have its own problems. Dana White open hand slapped his own wife in public, and they just kind of rolled with it. But here's the deal. They learned from that. That's why you don't see nor hear a bunch of Dana White in public anymore. That's not directly connected to a fight. They are not risking the public image for a older than Mike Tyson guy to come back and do what?
All right, so people on the stream offering Rob free food, you're trying to put him in an early grave. That's what you're trying to do. You see how worked up he is now? You want to give him free pizza? I mean, come on. People can't hear you doing what you're doing, but you can see it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or the X. By the way,
no. The problem here, James, is Lonzo is being legitimate, and that's what infuriates me.
I'm too legit to quit, yo.
Infuriating.
I don't know what I'm being legitimate about. Am I being legitimate about the fact that Jake Paul single-handedly has saved boxing, and all the purists really get all angry? Again, I could turn that down, I could do that. I'm not going to because it just shows how angry you are. I will say this, and this is the truest statement I can say ever about AEW. I witnessed the best match I have ever seen in AEW since its existence last night between Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. And I had recorded it. I had to go somewhere and come back, and I was catching up, and it was getting past my bedtime, which I usually don't go past my bedtime. And I just, even though I knew I could watch the next day, it's like, I've got to finish this match. This is an amazing match. How can these guys move the next day? My question is, you bring in all these stars from New Japan, does it get you new viewers if you're AEW? And why are the arenas halfway full? And why are people taking pictures of that? Do they want this thing to die? Do they not understand that AEW is important to how well WWE is doing? This is the best that wrestling has been in forever, maybe ever. Why would you want AEW to die? Why would you post those pictures just to say, haha, I killed it? You're stupid. Stop doing that. There's good wrestling. The storytelling is horrible in AEW. It needs to be fixed. Tony needs to hire some actual writers. That probably would help. But as far as wrestling goes, that is probably the best match I've seen this year and maybe going forward this year.
I have not seen the match. I have seen clips of the match. It looked like it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. And then you pile that on the back of the match between Ospreay and Takeshita from the Sting farewell show this weekend. I am going to argue the wrestling on AEW, right? The wrestling in the ring, in the squared circle, the wrestling on the show is better than the wrestling on WWE right now. Top to bottom, it is better wrestling. It is not a better show because of all the other things. But I think they painted themselves into a corner a little bit, A, and B, I also think that while you do have to, listen, I'm very much enjoying the Swerve Hangman Joe story. I'm interested to see what Adam Cole Bebe is going to do alongside Swerve. The fact that you have multi-rivals with guys going up against multiple guys and gals going up against multiple gals at the same time, much more realistic, and I'm all in to see what direction they go. I think, and maybe it may be just me being a bit of an optimist, I think they throttled down a little bit because they didn't want to create anything that overshadowed Sting's final match on his way out, and that was the right way to handle it. By the way, I've also thought about it a lot. I'm glad they let him win. I think from what I read yesterday,
he didn't want to win.
He wanted to lose, and everybody else in that company was like, no, dog, like you're Sting, you're going out on top. And after having watched it, I think it was absolutely the right call.
Steven says, Rob's starting to look like Machete. I think he needs a Snickers bar.
I am fine. Okay? I'm great.
You made me laugh out loud,
off my
Steven,
TV.
you sly dog. It is sad about the arenas. How do they fix that, though? I mean, I don't know how they fix that.
Step one, you stop feeling like you have to compete in arena size with WWE. Stop going to 25,000 seat arenas. I think you go back to going to smaller venues and make it more intimate than it is when you go into the big ones. A, I think B, as much as they're not going to want to, they've got to bring the ticket prices down. You cannot be selling tickets for the same price as WWE. And in 3, as much as I hate this aspect of it, I think you've got to cut the roster down. The roster is so bloated, and I've never said this before, but the roster is so bloated over there that you have so many folks that you can't give stories enough time to develop into good ones. So I think those 3 things are the way to go.
Yeah, all that, and arguably your best wrestler, biggest star, has been out for a while in MJF.
That's also true.
I mean, and I think they have a problem there about building up one guy and making him the guy, and then that guy gets hurt or has to go away for a while. I think you got to build up multiple guys. One thing about WWE, whether you like it or not, NXT has brought some big time players that you get to know, and then suddenly they're on the main roster and you already know them if you're a wrestling fan. I mean, like Braun Breaker coming up, like Tiffany Stratton coming up. I mean, and a good portion of the roster right now, I think they all went through NXT, at least the ones in the last 10 years or so. And I don't know if AEW can do something like that. But again, I don't want AEW to go away. WWE is posting sold out shows on their TV. Is that a shot at AEW?
Here's a bump, and I'll come to that. Here's an issue with what you just said. Because yes, I think NXT is fantastic. And you will notice for a while there, NXT was building up these great characters, sent them up to the main roster, and they were totally somebody different, right? You spent all these years building up the bruiserweight Pete Dunne, and then he shows up and he's butch in a silly hat and suspenders. It's like, why? Now that H is in charge, what are you seeing? You're seeing Braun Breaker show up in the main roster, and he's Braun Breaker. He's the guy you got to know. AEW is trying that with Ring of Honor. The problem is in not having a dedicated facility where guys go and they live and they train and they work to become the wrestlers they need to be on AEW. What does Ring of Honor do? They do little one-off matches before and after the filming of Dynamite and Rampage. So they're not actually giving these guys time to show up in the gym and live and train and be better wrestlers. They're traveling, doing shows. There's nothing different. There's no advantage of following around being a Ring of Honor guy or gal and developing on Ring of Honor if all Ring of Honor is Dynamite and Rampage, but not on TV. At some point, they're going to need to buy themselves a gym in Jacksonville and just literally, and I think that most people are hesitant to do this, you're literally going to have to copy NXT. You have to do the same thing. Why? Because it works.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with copying something that works and using it for your own. And if you want to tweak it, whatever, fine. But yeah, ROH, the acquisition of that was just so WWE couldn't get it. And I mean, you got like Athena. She only wrestles on ROH. She was my favorite wrestler when she was in WWE. You don't see her on TV.
Much like you're having champions from the main roster in WWE come down and do matches in NXT. People like Athena should be final bosses for Ring of Honor. That's your graduation. You go out there and you put on a banger with Athena, and next thing you know, you're showing up on Dynamite and Rampage. But I still think you got to A, have a dedicated way to do that, and B, you got to trim the roster down a little bit to make room when somebody blows up.
All right, so I wanted to talk about boxing and another match where a boxer,
we haven't talked about boxing in this segment.
All right, and we're not going to talk about boxing again because we need to talk about Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou, who is an MMA guy.
That's a damn boxing match.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it really?
Yes.
How? I don't know how it's any different. I mean, it's a boxer fighting a non-boxer. It's exactly what it is. Although Francis Ngannou is
a boxer. He's a boxer.
He's an MMA guy trying boxing.
Correct. He's an MMA. No, not trying. Succeeding at boxing, first off. He's already won fights. And not only is he a boxing guy, not only is he an MMA guy trying boxing that succeeded at boxing, what's he doing? Who's he fighting? A boxer in a boxing match.
Which apparently Mike Tyson is not.
He is 57 years old.
This argument just doesn't work. It doesn't. It's still Mike Tyson. You know, George Foreman came back, in his 40s and won the championship? I mean, come on, dude.
I'm sorry, Lonzo, is Mike Tyson in his 40s? No, he's 57.
Well, I would say, maybe certain psychedelic drugs have made him be like in his 40s, because being well-preserved, a la like Keith Richards. But I don't know for sure. All right, really quick. Who wins between Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou?
This is going to be a damn good fight. I'm going to say Anthony Joshua, and I'm going to say Anthony Joshua because while Francis Ngannou is a damn good boxer, he is still learning boxing, whereas Anthony Joshua has been in this game for a while. I think you're looking at a split decision. I think you're looking at a match that goes the distance. I don't think either one of these guys is putting the other
They can't do split decision again. Not after Tyson Fury. They can't do that.
I think you can if it is a split decision. The reason the Fury thing was bad was because most everybody thought Tyson Fury lost that match. That's why people were mad. Not that it was a split decision, but because of the fact that most of us believe Tyson Fury lost the match. If you split decision this in a way that somebody clearly won and you just don't want to say that, that's a coward's way out. I think it's a genuine split decision. I think both of them have knockout power. I just think Anthony Joshua has a little bit more ring experience that gives him an edge to stay away from that. If there's a KO, it's Ngannou going down, but he's got such a tough chin. I think Anthony Joshua wins this in split decision.
All right. I think Ngannou wins. I think he knocks out Joshua, and he's already set up a Tyson Fury rematch because he was talking stuff to Tyson, who was out in the audience for the weigh in and all that kind of stuff. I think that happens. I think we finally see an MMA guy knock out a boxer. Also, who you got between Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera? Their second matchup.
I like this a lot. Sugar Shane's got all the pressure on him right now, doesn't he? Like he wants to be face of the game. He cannot lose again if that's going to do that. And I'm not saying he disappears if he does, but he will start back at square one if he does. I'm going to go Shane.
It's Sean, but
I mean Sean.
Yeah,
I've been saying Sugar Shane was a beamer all week.
Yeah, well, and because Sugar always seems to be with Shane and Sean, but it is Sean, and I'm going Sean also. And now
it's gonna be a good fight.
Rob can calm down.
It's gonna be a good fight.
Maybe
he's 57. We got to take a break. We'll come back after this and wrap it up on the Rob Brown Show. In the Fed, he's 57 years old, man.
So if anyone asks you today how old Mike Tyson is,
You'll know.
You'll hear Rob's voice in your head yelling, he's 57. Followed by Nick Saban going, what are we doing?
Oh, Okada finally showed up.
Yes, he did. And joined the elite because they suspended the Cowboy and they fired Kenny Omega.
Oh, they fired Omega.
Yeah, Kenny Omega is no longer elite. I just spoiled. My bad.
That's fine.
Well, it's too late. It's too late now, whether it's fine or not. And I don't feel bad because you're just too angry about the Tyson thing. You just got to stop, man. Right. No one's going after him till after the draft, so I get a free lunch. That's how that's going to work. We got a deal, NFL. We've got a deal.
I was watching basketball last night, so I didn't get to watch the wrestling. A mid NXT rating.
Dynamite was good, and then it hit greatness when the final match happened. It was just, and then the walk by, two wrestlers eyeing themselves eyeing each other at the end of the match was even better because now we got foreshadowing and we know what's coming soon. I'd like to thank Jake Paul for getting Rob's adrenaline going. He's going to tear up his work after we're done, man. He's just going to kill it.
I don't want to be around this. I can't be around this place.
I can't believe Diddy tried to spoil it. He tried, but he sent it to both of us. If he had just sent it to you, he might have spoiled it. It's bad form, Diddy. Come on, dude. Oh, looky there. We're back. All right, things are not common here still, but we're gonna get to what the X is going on, and Rob hopefully can tell us what the X is going on. The first thing that's Xing is Five Guys.
Listen, I don't know why it's trending, and I hope it's not for a bad reason, because I am simply going to say that in the fast food game right now, yes, they are a little bit more pricey than other options, but a Five Guys double cheeseburger with bacon and mushrooms along with the Cajun fries slaps.
All right, so us who are struggling to get by day to day, I guess it's trending, Xing because of that, because of price tags, and people are just throwing up the receipts about how much it costs to go to Five Guys.
It ain't cheap. All right, it ain't cheap. About once a month, well, not now because we're trying to be unfat, but about once a month, the fiance and I would go for a Five Guys night. And yeah, I mean, we're talking for the two of us to go a burger, a fry, and a shake. I'm coming out of pocket $50 for it. But I'm also going to tell you that, again, if I want a burger relatively quickly, Five Guys is better than any burger that you can order while staying in your car. And I don't say that as a disrespect to anybody else. I say that as a compliment to Five Guys.
I haven't been there in probably 10 years, but I mean, when I did go, I don't recall it ever being fast. But the 10 pounds of fries you get, I mean, might be worth the money. It might be, I don't know. All right. The next thing that's Xing is Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco is trending because he is elite. It has been decided. The question has been asked over and over, and we have collectively as a society decided that Joe Flacco is indeed elite.
Unlike Kenny Omega.
Joe Flacco is trending because Mitch Trubisky just signed with the Bills, and everybody says he's going to be the next Joe Flacco. I don't know.
All right. Joey B says Whataburger is coming and the game will change. I've still never been to one. Is it expensive?
It is not.
Okay. All right.
But it takes, depending on the traffic, it can take as long, if not longer, than Five Guys.
Longer than Chick-fil-A? I know you're not supposed to say that, but it takes a long time for Chick-fil-A.
It is. But it is also, and I will say this, when Rob Brown goes home to Florida on vacation, I get a Whataburger on the way in, and I get a Whataburger on the way out.
What makes it better than other burgers around here, though?
It just is. I don't
Is it
know.
because does the popularity make it taste better?
No, it just is. It's hard for me to explain why a Whataburger is better than the rest of the fast food.
Is it bigger? Is it thicker? I mean,
no. I mean, it's not. I think it is just. I don't know what they do to prepare it that is different than everybody else. But if every drive-through fast food restaurant you can think of is on the same street, Whataburgers get my money. It's just the best.
That's high praise.
And that is, by the way, before somebody inevitably hits me up on the stream or on the text line, I have never had White Castle, but I cannot White Castle's fine. I assume. I can't imagine White Castle would knock me off the Whataburger / Five Guys.
First of all, I would never compare it to that. But as far as sliders go, it is the original and the best of all time. And it cannot be knocked off of its throne or kicked out of its castle, if you will. Flacco is trending because people are wondering if he's willing to sign and be a backup behind Deshaun Watson.
Okay, more importantly, did you have White Castle growing up? How did you arrive at this conclusion? You did.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've even mentioned on these airwaves, 3:00 in the morning, White Castle is open. We had this discussion like last week.
Okay. So the only time I've been in a position to have White Castle twice. I was in California a few years ago visiting family, and then when I was out in Vegas, and I didn't do it either time. Half because I was like, I got other stuff to eat right now. I'm not going to get a fast food burger. And I think half because if I get a White Castle and it is as incredible as everybody makes it out to be, and then I fly back to the Southeast where there's no White Castle, I'm setting myself up for disappointment.
Crystal is a poor imitation to White Castle. And the thing is, you know,
I love Crystal.
Yeah, but White Castle is better. And you may say, well, it's a regional thing. No, White Castle is the original. It is better. The White Castle Red Pop cannot be copied, duplicated, or bested.
Well, there you go. As all great shows do, a little fast food discussion inclusion there at the end. Anyway, I'm on my way home to eat my allowed 3 chicken breast tenderloins and precisely and exactly 1 cup of steamed vegetables for lunch. So if you're having Crystal or White Castle or Whataburger or Five Guys or whatever, just think of me. Have a lovely rest of your day. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Friday edition of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate later. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Beastie Boys are wrong. White Castle fries do come in more than one size.
Now I want Five Guys fries.
Yeah, but you just said you're eating chicken breasts.
I am. More like iron deficiency. He's 57 years old, James.
Stop it, James.
57. Oh, for the boxers. 57. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, that's it for us. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the show. Y'all are spectacular. Yada, yada, yada. Goodbye.